So there's like 2 different dispensers of ice. And I thought that is the most ridiculous thing. Why would we need this? You'll have to pry that thing from my cold dead hand. Because that tiny ice, I'll fight you for it.
It's so
I don't know what it is about it.
And welcome in to Season 5, Episode 9 of Unstable Discourse.
Hurrah! Yeah, boy.
A far cry from last episode's intro. And I appreciate it.
Oh, nice. That's
I was
true.
a decent
this is bad.
space away from the mic when I did my brah.
Yeah, that's called having a mic presence.
See? I have one of those now.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Uh-huh.
You taught me right.
You're right.
And that's a local homie too, isn't it? Mike Presence?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
He's
Might
an MA2 guy. Yeah.
Welcome in, listeners. It is your boy Alex Seminary of Tailwind Media here with Ryan Fancher of Unstable Disc Golf Gear.
Yes, sir.
Sean Callahan of Dellwood Disc Golf.
What up, y'all?
Jason Callahan of Bag of Tricks.
I pledge allegiance to the flag.
I was about to.
Chime in?
Yeah.
Nah.
We'll circle back to that later and explain why that's relevant. We're also joined today by Mr. Geoff Chappelle Show.
Let's start the show.
Hello, thank you for having me.
Of Birdbrain Disc Golf Club, and your
Jeff.
stats company is called
GeoffStatsLLC. Not a real company.
GeoffStatsLLC.
Is that official?
No, not a real company. Not yet.
I was very excited.
Also got Sheila Callahan, the Queen of the Canyons, in the house. We also got Jackie Boy. Jackie Boy the dog is in the house as well.
My go boy.
I'll bark later.
Is he the barker? I thought Coop is usually the barker.
He'll bark. Jack will bark. Jackie will,
Jack will bark.
he'll let you know if there's something not
The
right.
Sky
Like, right.
Police.
He's like, I'm building. I got one building, Dad. I got one building.
All right, we have a lot to cover in this episode. Jeff, you are maybe the most smartest guest I think we've ever had.
The most smartest.
Most
definitely.
smartest.
Definitely.
Yeah.
He's
I
the
know
most smartest.
I know what I said. So you have a lot of different things we're going to get into. I think when you start bringing stats into disc golf, that can go a lot of different directions.
Sure.
You've done a lot of cool things for the Birdbrain Disc Golf Club, like super renowned, reputable club. So there's a lot to get into on the Jeff-related stuff. But we also have updates from the Unstable Discourse Open 2.
Sure do.
For sure.
We have you guys fresh back from your Sandy Point trip.
That's correct.
Most deaf.
Also for show.
We have fart updates to get to.
Yes, we do.
Indeed.
Also for show.
So let's get into all that. Instead of all of us going around and saying what we're fired up about, let's start recapping the Unstable Discourse Open 2.
Hell yeah.
I can't do it without you doing the fired up thing.
Okay.
Oh, okay. This is
Right now.
Okay, so the Unstable
Right.
Discourse
Do it.
Open
I need
2.
to
Do it.
as a
This is
fan.
all
I need
part
Do
to-
it.
I gotta hear it. Yeah.
We're all fired up about it, but
Right.
Sean, I need you to get us into fired up. So
Group fired up.
Okay.
Ooh,
All right.
works.
Yeah, okay.
here we go.
I didn't know where it was going.
No.
For a second, yeah.
So first,
Groupon.
Yeah.
you weren't at the Unstable Discourse Open, were you?
I was not.
Mm.
I was
Shit.
quite stable elsewhere.
You
And,
really, really dropped the ball
I
there.
really doubt that. Yeah.
It's a great time. It's the event has evolved. Like it was the Unstable Disc Golf Gear Open.
Correct.
For many years. Yeah.
Many years, right?
Yep.
So this is the second year where we did it as a show. Obviously, the players were all there. They had a great time. The weather was perfect. But we
Obviously.
also did like show stuff there,
Yeah.
which was really fun for us.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Jason, what was your favorite thing that we were doing at the event?
Trying to get like candid conversations going, just walking up to people and hitting them with random ask questions. Like, obviously, if you know me, one of my favorite things is to bring an awkward situation and elevate it even higher, because
Sure.
that's just a fantastic thing to do to people. So to walk up to random people and ask them questions that might embarrass them a little bit while there's a microphone in front of them is cream of the crop. I was loving that.
It's an interesting change of pace when you're having a great interaction with somebody one-on-one, just chatting, and all of a sudden you pull a microphone and a camera out and you watch their whole demeanor change, like the panic on their face.
Yeah.
They forget they know you.
Yeah. They forget how to talk.
So yeah,
It's good
it was
stuff.
it was fun to have you putting people on the spot with like your version of mailbag questions,
Yep.
but then also having them ask us mailbag questions on the spot.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So now we have this like bank of audio mailbag questions, which we will deploy little by little over the rest of the season.
Hmm.
Shout out to the people that really took their time. I think probably 90% of the people I asked if they would do a mailbag question for us, they panicked and then they said, come back to me later. And then when I did, usually they had something good to share. Special shout out to Tim Potter, who took it home and slept on it and came back with like 7 or 8 questions that he recorded them all in a row.
I love him.
My favorite thing was that you gave the mic to them and let them walk away.
Yeah.
And on their
Like the
terms,
pressure off.
Yeah.
on their
That made
own.
them feel more comfortable.
So not
No doubt.
only were they more comfortable, but we have no idea what they said. You know, because you
Right.
listened,
Right.
but I have no idea what's
Yeah,
coming.
I have no idea.
So yeah, it's
Yeah.
great.
Special thank you to everybody who was willing to get on the microphone, especially the people who walked away and then surprised us with some very funny questions.
Oh, yeah.
Actual disc golf stuff, not just podcast stuff, but actual disc golf stuff from the event. Let's talk about that. Sean, what stands out to you? First thing, top of mind about the event, what stands out?
Yeah. I think one of my favorite things to do in general is having Tournament Central set up as like a spectacle. Like I want people to come up and go, oh, they care. Right. So I feel like it's extra fun to do that with Unstable and Unstable Discourse Open, because Ryan brings out all the new merch that he made for the event.
Mhm.
And it's putting a lot of new ideas on display and, you know, inside jokes. So I love that part, having those 4 tents set up like that, like a big, you know, like a pop-up store,
Yeah,
you know,
it was
in
like
a
a
way.
bazaar,
Like to me, that's
you know?
that's a
Yeah,
very
yeah,
like a swap
cool element.
Scholastic Book Fair.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's the vibe, because people get excited just because there's
Oh,
merch
can
they
we
can
order
touch.
pencils for next year?
Yeah.
Folders,
Yeah.
spirals.
Turn those
Yeah.
little stickers of us into like erasers that go on the end
Yeah.
of the
Oh
pencils.
my God.
Yes.
Great idea.
That's
So that's one of my favorite parts. I love that. Ryan usually does not like doing all of the retail stuff, but I feel like you got in the zone a little bit. I was watching you do it, and kind of, I feel like that's when you do it the best, is like when you can just kind of be left alone to just meddle with it. And
Yeah, don't touch my
I thought
stuff.
I thought it looked phenomenal. I
Jason
think the
does a
presentation was
great job of listening to me and then listening to me tell him not to do it that way and then doing it that way anyway and then just telling me to leave it alone
And
because
then
it's
having
fine.
it be the right decision.
Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah.
Um,
Thank you very much.
Otherwise,
Yeah.
I will think too hard about it. And like my thing is that I like everything to be displayed a certain way. Obviously, everybody does. But the moment anyone comes in and rifles through sizes of shirts and then completely f***s up the pile,
Yeah.
I got to walk away, because I know it doesn't matter how many times I will fix things. It will just continually do that. Jason helped a ton with that because he just kept going back and fixing things. And we had a lot of cool stuff. We had a couple new t-shirts, including the Shut the F*** Up Please shirt, which was great.
Mhm.
My dad loves that shirt.
Oh, that was my favorite moment of the Unstable Discourse Open.
Mhm.
Was all of a sudden Alex's dad
And his nuts.
And his nuts.
and his nuts and Alex's mother at his side,
And her ovaries.
most likely, showed up.
Keep my mom's ovaries out, Joe.
Yeah. But he shook all our hands, and then the first thing out of his mouth was, "I'd appreciate it if you kept my balls off of the air. Thank you."
Yeah.
And that was,
was
probably one of the funnier things, because for a split second I was like, "Oh," and then we all laughed about it, and it was great. So,
Yep.
Great dude. I gave him a shirt with Alex's face on it.
That was a very nice moment. Thank you for doing that.
It was, yeah. Having all that stuff on display. I only do it once a year. I should have it out more. I know. We've talked about it ad nauseum. It's a good time.
I love seeing the reactions on people's faces. The people who like really love the show. Oh my God, there's a Jolene shirt. Or like, oh my God, you made an armband with everybody's face on it. Like,
Everybody
how do I get one of
loved
those?
Mhm.
The arm.
That's a very special feeling for I'm sure for all of us, but
Yeah.
for me for sure.
One of my favorite things that is, it should be irritating to me, but it's very funny to me instead, is that someone will pick up a shirt and say, "This is the best shirt I've ever seen,"
And then not
and
buy
then
it.
immediately put it down and walk
Pass
away.
up the whole pile, find their size, lay it back down, and go, maybe I'll come back later.
They will go to Target and pick up a pack of shirts that they don't give a shit about and pay $30 for a 5-pack. But they have then found the greatest shirt they have ever seen, quote unquote,
Mhm.
not even consider purchasing it. I don't understand. It's so funny to me. It happened no less than 10 times. Oh
Yeah.
my God, this is the funniest shirt I've ever seen. Directly down.
Plop.
Away.
I'll say other key details from the event. It's usually at Highland Park, but it was at Westy this year.
Yep.
The course was looking great.
Yeah. It's
I
such a
gotta
fun
give
course.
a huge shout out to David Eberhardt, aka Ebbs.
Ebbs.
Everybody knows Ebbs. He picked up where I left off on hole 6, so I went out there earlier that week or maybe the week before and started to clean it up. And I mean, he made it look like it had always been that way. So huge shout out to him.
Yeah, I walked around for a little bit and caught some, just got some like random footage of people playing. And at one point I was like, I'm just going to put my camera down and walk because it's really pretty out here right now.
Yeah.
I mean, the day was beautiful as well. Also want to shout out, who's the food truck crew that you had out there? Like those cheese curds? Dude.
Yeah.
Cheese curds were amazing.
Truckin' delicious.
Truckin' delicious.
wasn't
Huge
it?
shout out to
Yeah.
those guys.
Mhm.
Brad's been with us all season long so far at like everything we've done. So
Yeah.
he kills it. Food's phenomenal.
Yep. Great people, great food. They're just stoked to be there and help out.
It's a great event. If you guys haven't been to it, look out for it next year. It's great. Always great weather, but also like it's a different vibe because we're just kind of hanging out and we're doing showy stuff too. So
Yeah.
It's a great time for us to actually interact with you guys, the listeners, in person, get you involved in the show a little bit. It's a lot of fun for us too. So
Heck yeah.
we should talk also about the other big thing you guys are fired up about, and I'm fired up to hear about it. SP13, Spurteen.
Spurt. We never really
I
gave
don't
it a
really.
fun
I don't
name
like that one. I don't like Spurteen.
No, I
No.
Hold on, I'm gonna spurt.
I'm
Yeah.
listening.
Spurt?
Yeah.
I'm gonna spurt.
Jason immediately. It's his favorite thing.
First off, Jeff, have you been up to Sandy Point?
Yeah, actually, the Northwoods Open the week prior to you guys going was the first time I went up there.
Oh
jealous.
my goodness! So
Yeah.
you have so much to weigh in on.
Oh,
this,
so much.
this topic. Please tell
Yes.
us your experience and what Sandy Point was for you for the first time.
My experience was great. I headed up there
Apparently,
Wednesday night
Well, apparently.
for the. I went with the Tommy Lake crew. Shout out all of you. There's too many to name. A couple former podcast guests were there, including Dan Schlitter and Big Cat.
Oh,
But
you
there
were
some
with
others.
them boys.
Yes, I was.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Shoulders full.
So that was a fun time. I played Rookery Run first. That was
Awesome.
on Wednesday night, I think, actually. That was course 99 on UDisc. So
And
I
you
was
guys
like,
stay like pretty close to that too, right?
yeah, we're about, I think it was about 15 or 20 from Rookery Run.
Nice.
And then 45-ish from Sandy Point and Squirrel Hill, which was the other course we played up there. Squirrel Hill was amazing. I know you
Yes.
guys played it.
Mhm.
Yep.
I saw all the pictures. Shot of my life beats any ace I've ever had was on that downhill hole 14.
14, right?
Yeah, I put it to 12 feet with Halo turn.
Nice.
That was sick.
What'd you throw?
Yeah.
Halo turn,
Okay.
I've never
Yeah.
played with you. Are you a sidearm or a backhand primary?
all backhand.
All backhand.
The occasional chicken wing if I have to throw a
Ooh,
forehand.
that's fun.
Sure.
What a G. What a
Yeah.
G.
So you've obviously heard about Sandy Point for a long time, and this is your first time going up. So like, how did it match up to what you had in your mind?
So we played a casual round prior to the tournament on Friday. I had an odd like set of feelings. Like I heard like so many people's endorsements of it and just what to expect. And it was almost as though like it had been laid out for me. Like I couldn't have any knocks to it or like I couldn't like offer any criticism to one thing or another.
Sure.
And I'm just kind of like that. I'm not like I'm not looking for criticism. I'm not a a cynic by any means, but at the same time,
It sucked, right?
yeah, it was just like it was pretty mid, and I don't see what the hype is about. But no, then I got toward the back. Then I got to the par 4 and the pirate hole and saw a lot more of the character, and came back to like hole 25, and then saw the coastline in hole 27, which I did birdie in the long to finish my tournament. And
Hey,
that was
good
awesome.
man.
Well done.
How far away?
25. I just blew a grace like right over the flag and just landed in that grass patch. And the putt, like looking at the kayakers, I was like, just banged it. I'm like, this is either
Moment.
going
This is it.
We
long
practiced for this
or-
moment.
Yeah, well, this is one putt. Got to
Yeah.
go in.
Yeah.
It's such a tough thing to like break down because it gets built up in your head from so many people
Yeah.
explaining to you why it's so special to them. I can imagine you get out of the car and you like want to feel it right away, like
Yeah,
and you maybe need to like sit in it for a little while to have your own moments to like let the kind of magic come to you a little bit. Does that make sense?
All of that is what she said. Everything you just said is what she said.
every bit of it.
Go ahead.
all of it.
Well, yeah, she said that, and then I interjected. But
Yeah.
yes, it like was a lot to hear that while processing it. And I'm, you said I'm the most smartest guy, but
Yeah.
when it comes to processing that emotional and social things, it takes me a longer time. So I was like really trying to actively decompress as I'm still like enjoying and reading it, and it was
Mm.
a lot. But then
You were up there for what, 2 or 3 days?
I was there Wednesday to Monday.
Oh, nice.
You stayed Sunday night. Nice.
Yeah, stayed Sunday night, and then
Smart.
Monday we actually stopped in Madison and played High Stand Park with Dan and a couple others. Dan was practicing for, I think Mad City Open was the next weekend.
Mhm.
Right.
So yeah, we just stopped there. for course 102 for me. So that was
And he
pretty
took
cool.
second, I believe.
Yes, he did.
Yeah. Shout out
Yeah, he
to the dog.
He could not withstand the Scotty Too Hottie
That's right.
Bertard flurry
Yeah.
from Chase to
Mhm.
take it down. He was evidently unstoppable in the final round. But yeah, once I got on the course Saturday, I had a very slow start. I was even through 11, which if you've played that course, you're like, oh, geez, what's he doing in MA1?
Never,
But also-
never been there.
But
before.
also so easy to do because
yeah,
like
right.
just because they're shorter holes does not mean like you get into trouble pretty quick out there.
Mhm.
That's what we experience every year.
Yeah, and like all the little dinky courses I've played around my parents' house in North Carolina sort of prepared me, quote unquote, for that
Sure.
possibility because it really is right there.
Mhm.
But yeah, I was composed through tournament, and it kind of washed over me there, like watching people like finish their round, then retire to the cabin, or just be like, well, I'm done today, and then like post up on 27, watch the rest of the division come in with
Mm.
a
Yeah.
beer and their feet in the sand. I'm
That's
like,
the part. that I
okay,
think
this
I would
is
like.
this is it.
Yeah.
I didn't see much of this when we were like
Yeah.
just milling through for a practice round, but I get it.
I think that is the one thing that I'm pretty jealous of that we don't get to experience too often when we're on the trip because it's so different at Northwoods Open that people are coming down to watch as we have the place to ourselves. There's no one there with us.
Mhm.
So every year that happens, I'm like, man, I'd love to be there, but it would ruin our traditions of the drive up. You know, it would never work out. But that's the thing I think I would look forward to the most.
Yeah,
It's
Mhm.
also a completely like you're not competing in a sanctioned event, right? Like you're competing against each other.
At times that last round, I mean, some of them, I mean, if you know, we have so much fun with it and we take
Right.
it as serious as you can without taking it too serious. And so at times those putts can feel like they're sanctioned because
Mhm.
it's for the oar.
It
you
is
know?
sanctioned
Sure.
just
Yeah.
in a different way.
Yeah.
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 Sanctioned by the boys.
That's right.
So how did you guys do? How did the job provide? Were the vibes right? Just give us the overview.
Let's hear what you have to say, right?
He provode
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah.
Shit,
Uh,
just made me spit out my drink.
That's why the spit filter's there on the mic. Yeah, we saw absolutely incredible weather. Thursday morning was the only little bit of rain, but we got to sleep in. And then the moment the rain decided to skirt out, we went to Squirrel Hill and played that, and then
Mhm.
came back and played. It was perfect. It was hot in the afternoon once we first got there, but then by Friday morning we saw 36 and a frost warning. So
What?
it was
Wow.
it was bonkers. Yeah.
Yeah.
Holy
It
cow.
was pants and hoodies for sure.
To
through-
start by noon, it was like, okay, I
Yeah.
could just be pants or shorts.
Yeah, and that's what we always talk about. Like traditionally, you're wearing shorts and a hoodie, you know, or by hole 13 when you come through the corner, you're putting your hoodie over on the bench and playing the rest and coming back for it. And that's exactly what it was. It was perfect. There was some wind and some crazy weather the first couple of sandy rounds, which made the water holes incredibly difficult and really fun. But then after that, the water was like glass, and yeah, the whole trip was great. We're not going to go into the details because I could talk to you about it for 3 hours. But the one special thing that I think we did this year that we had not done was Mike Cousins took us out on his pontoon party boat and took us around the whole lake and down one of the
3-hour tour.
yeah, and down
We were out
one
there
of
for
the
a minute. It was great.
one
So
of the
many
inlet
stories, yeah.
rivers, and so many crazy stories about all the land and how they came to own the resort, and you know, just all the properties around and who they knew, and it was incredible. So
Yeah.
that was really fun. That was a special moment for us.
I like how the early birdies are like part of the Sandy Point lore in a sense at this point. Like
Yeah.
they clearly love you guys so much and like what the place means to you. I see the way they post about you guys. I saw that they put up like a tribute to you in the
So
your
that
cabin.
was the offerings. Everybody knows that we do the gifts. That was my offering to the group. So I got everybody the matching nightgowns, or not matching. They were all different colored flannel nightgowns. And then I got everybody,
Which was very fun. I wore mine last night.
yes,
Yeah.
nice. But that was my group gift, was that sign that I had made sure prior with Mike and Michelle that it was okay to hang up in the cabin, and they were like, "Oh my god, yes!" So it was like, I remember so early on in the trips, you know, by year 4 with Rye coming on, it was like we knew that they were into us and these traditions, so that's why it had always just
So
become
awesome.
a thing to up the ante with it.
Yeah, there's a lot of little things that we do with them and the other guests, even like hiding movies in the cabin And, just the little stuff that, like, we left a pizza peel and a cutter, for the next time we come up, and, they appreciated that. And it's just a really fun thing to know that we are now part of that.
I feel like if there was a documentary about Sandy Point, there would be a section of the documentary about early birdies.
I hope so.
How much
it.
the place means
Yeah.
to people like you.
Yeah.
And huge shout out to brother Joey for getting his first Sandy Point ace and first ace since like 2015 or 2016
Whoa.
Yeah.
on hole 9 to the green loon basket
Yo.
through the
Right.
right gap with a neutron hex.
That's right.
Just put it on the perfect angle and let it stand up and come back, and just
Dang.
all chains. It was so amazing. We
Yeah.
were screaming like kids.
That's a tough gap now.
Oh,
too.
dude.
Super tough.
Yeah.
We had all gotten one except Joey, and we keep saying, like, Joey, this is your year.
Yep.
And he hit that and jumped straight into Donnie's arms. It was so funny. Like, we all lost it. I couldn't speak for the rest of the round. My throat was killing me. It
Yeah.
was awesome.
So I know you guys go and you have your traditions, you have a lot of fun. It is competitive, but like for people who've never listened to you guys talk about this trip before, there is like a coveted competition and
Definitely.
a trophy. Give us the deets. What happened?
Oh, we don't have to talk about it. It's
Yeah.
fine. All right, fine. Yeah, go ahead.
Oddly enough, it's funny. So we'll kind of talk about this a little bit later, but every year Joey does all the stats. Like, he does all of the binder, and I mean, we have every year in there. We all know this. We've talked about it.
Every shot.
Every
weather,
shot,
know
every
this.
stroke, all the details, all in the binder. And he decided this year that he was going to change up the point system and use UDisc ratings to essentially develop the points that were provided to each player. And then there's bonus points up on top of that. But so that was really cool. Felt like it was the same appropriate tight race based on everybody's play throughout all the rounds. And I mean, this year, I haven't looked back, and Joey hasn't given us the stats because we're all kind of coming down from the trip. But in 6 days, we played 293 holes. So I think that averaged like a little over 40 each day. And I mean, we are not the 28-year-old dudes we once were going there
My
for
arm
the
just
first
started
time.
hurting.
Mhm.
So, I mean, we were really dogging by the end, and it was a tight race. It came down to that last lap with me and Ryan. We played.
Yeah,
You guys were neck and neck, huh?
Yeah, we
We're
played.
neck and neck.
So weird.
Yeah, we
Yep.
played a modified 18, and I was 10 points behind you after 6 days.
Mm-hmm.
And if you consider each round is plus or minus, 200 points ish, over 293 holes, it was 14 rounds or something like that,
Mm-hmm.
to only be away by 10 points. And
Which was only like 3 strokes, right? Going into that
Yeah,
round,
give
I think
or
is
take.
what we calculated, right?
Yeah, and considering like a CTP is worth, we gave it a score of 3. If you hit metal, it's another 3. Longest putt is 3 points. Like, it was anybody's game.
Yeah.
And
we've had that in the past where Ryan and I have been neck and neck going into the final round a couple different times.
yeah,
One where we did a playoff at Villarda Ast at a different location on the way home. And then
Yep.
I think 2019 is when you aced in my eye on hole 2 of that last round that we
I
always
did.
talk about.
Yep.
And that was it. That's what like shut it down, was on the second hole. So it was like I was ace running after that, basically.
Yeah.
Because that was the only way I could catch him.
but not this time. I just couldn't get it together. There are a lot of tight gaps, and like Sean was hitting them and I wasn't. And it was pretty evident after like the front 9 that like I was going to have to do some crazy shit to make it up. And
Mm-hmm.
I did get the CTP on the last hole, but it wasn't quite enough. So
Yeah.
he took it home.
Got him by a couple points. But
Yeah.
it was fun.
It was super fun.
all the traditions, all the things, I think we're realizing that we need to kind of cap off how many traditions, because
Yeah.
the ongoing joke, and especially with Donnie, because he's such a fast-paced guy, that the mantra really becomes, whether you like it or not, no slow minutes. Because, and I was explaining that to Sheila, that in a way it's good because it helps you, or helps us as a group, cover all the bases of the things that we know that we're going to feel like we missed out on if we didn't do.
Sure.
So, that part of it, really, I feel like that's the thing that gives me that overall feeling of, was it 10 out of 10 again, like we've done in the past,
Mhm.
or did we not do some of the things that really do mean a lot to us, as goofy as they are?
Yeah.
Sure.
And we can't catch them all. This is not Pokemon. Things like we have the challenge book, and we didn't really get into it this much this year.
No, we didn't.
Like, there were a lot of challenges that we knew in our heads that we had to hit, and we did a bunch.
Oh,
and
you mean like everybody gets a birdie on hole 1 that we didn't do?
that we haven't done in years.
Mm.
Again?
Oh no.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so the hashtag after the trip is maybe next year, boys.
Maybe not your boys.
But there are so many challenges that we know that we have to do, but we just didn't physically mark them down this year.
Right.
And we still have the challenge book. We still have it all on paper. We could do it. It's just not something we did because there were other things we're evolving. The trip. So
I definitely listen to a podcast within a podcast of like the lore of your like exploits.
mhm.
The one we did last year?
Yeah,
Nice.
but like
Yeah.
With
to be
Donnie
like,
Joe.
oh, remember the time?
Yeah.
You know, I would listen to any of that.
Yeah. It's great. Yep.
Can you let Sheila come next year so she can just vlog the whole thing?
Oh, she's not allowed.
No.
She wouldn't want to stay in the cabin for 1 second
No.
the morning after chili.
Donnie Monday night, we got in, put everything away, and was like, okay, Donnie, chili. And then we continued to eat that for 3 more days
Nice.
for lunch and dinner because he makes so much of it that it's like, eat this chili up, dog.
Yeah.
So, it was,
Just picturing Donnie doing
there was gas. There
the
was
Kevin Malone size pot of chili.
legit.
It's pretty
that
much it. Yeah.
I would love to talk more about Sandy Point, but
I'm sure we will. Just,
one day.
yeah.
I did order, I saw Little Devil Creative had a sale on their posters on Instagram, and I saw that in Idlewild, so I got that because I've been there, and that's cool.
Hey, you
I already
them.
have the Dellwood one,
You
and
have
then
both the Dellwood ones.
I don't. I only have that one. I need this one.
I just
Yeah.
have that one.
I didn't see those on the website, so I do need that. But then I got the Sandy Point one as like an aspirational. So now I have maybe
They
you.
didn't have them at
Is
the
it you
shop
who
where I
Scoop
would've
set
gotten
up
them.
all the all the
Yeah, I
posters
have
on the
those
wall?
2 and Hornet's Nest are the 3
That's
that I have.
I
yeah.
saw that. I was like, that's so cool. So now I have the same thing in my office.
Yeah.
Is that the one that looks like the starter jacket?
Yes, it has the Charlotte Hornets colors. Yeah.
So that's all I have to say about Sandy Point is that my friends love to go there, and I have a poster of it. I would love to go one day.
You can plan that trip.
Yeah, eventually. All right, that is probably enough fired up. Unless
Ooh.
Jason,
I do got a little.
you haven't said anything.
I got a
yet.
little something. I got one micro fired up and one big fired up, and I'll put them out there as quick as I can.
The big one better be good.
It's good. So my little fired up is, speaking of Donnie, episode 22 of How to Make a Mixtape is out to listen to. It was your boy back in the shack with Rod and Donnie. We had a blast, and when you're done listening to this, if you want to go search that and listen to it, I highly recommend it because it is a lot of fun.
Unlike
Cool.
this podcast, on the other podcast, Jason really knows what he's talking about.
Yeah, for sure.
You
I'm not
blew
just
my mind on the
trying
reel.
to find ways of making dick and fart jokes. I'm actually having
Yeah.
conversations.
yeah,
Yeah.
the revelation about the "I Got a Man" song.
Yes.
I was like, I thought you were trolling.
nope. I was blown away. Isn't that great?
So interesting.
Yeah. So my second fired up. The year is 1994. Weezer's Blue album is released.
You were in Indianapolis.
Where are we, Jay? Collectively, you and I.
I'm 15, so then you would be 11.
And we are in what room?
Listening to Weezer, we're probably in the basement of Mom's
In
house.
the garage.
Such a specific memory that I have with that album. In the mobile, in
the
our
mobile?
bedroom,
Really?
playing catch with the Bears football in that tiny
In
little
Homewood?
room. No,
Really?
mobile.
Wow.
Listening to that
Okay.
album.
Listening
Yeah.
to that album?
Yeah.
I am instantly hooked by this band. Weezer's been one of my top 10 bands of all time. Fast forward to last week, I was able to go and see them at the Rosemont.
You almost couldn't, right?
I almost couldn't. I ended up going by myself because I wasn't going to spend that much money and not go.
Sometimes it's fun to do it by yourself.
You know, there was 3 seats and I just sat in the middle and had an arm slung over each one on the left and right and sat and enjoyed what I'm about to tell you is the greatest concert experience of my life.
Probably looked like a ghost pimp.
For sure. Yeah. Yeah. I had 2 ghost bitches with me. So on the last episode, I talked about how great Green Day's concert was.
Yes.
Weezer absolutely blew that out of the water.
Wow.
What-
Come on.
What they were able to pull off, I'll try to condense this as much as I can, but I want to give you guys the visual of this. They had a story to tell on stage, and they did so with their music and the visual components. So it starts with the whole tour is called Travel to the Blue Planet, something like that. I can't remember exactly what it's called, but that's neither here nor there. So it starts off with a visual of a countdown on the stage. There's a 5-minute countdown. And then as there's a countdown, there's a bunch of steam rolling out and the giant, like the tip of a rocket comes out and it's like 30 feet tall and it's slowly being pushed out on stage. amongst all the steam. The countdown hits 0. The rocket takes off with sparks coming out of the bottom, and the band is like just sitting there. The rocket was hollowed out, and they're sitting there, just the 4 of them, as it's like slowly being revealed. Behind them is a giant screen that is displaying fire and stuff as the rocket is taking off, right? Then Journey to the Blue Planet. Sorry, it just came to me. The show is called Journey to the Blue Planet. Hey guys, Jason here. You just heard me very confidently be wrong. I just said that the tour was called Journey to the Blue Planet, and the tour is actually called Voyage to the Blue Planet. I don't know what was wrong with me that night. Anyway, back to the show. They use their music and the visual component of the thing behind them to tell the story of Weezer having to leave Earth, travel through space, fight this alien that's trying to stop them. Their ship gets destroyed. They have to stop at this asteroid belt and find all the parts because they're trying to get to the blue planet, which is not populated. And when they get there, they can then populate it, is the story that's being told. What?
Gonna bang each other?
With 4 dudes?
Yeah.
With
Not likely.
So essentially, it gets populated with just little like amiibo versions of Rivers, because like he's the lead singer. So
Yeah,
it's like
okay.
all these. But what they do is they use the music to tell the story. Like at one point, they stop at like you remember the Cantina bar scene in Star Wars? They stop at a planet where it's that, and they have to like play a couple songs as they're the band that's performing that night. Then they like have to stop at the Pinkerton asteroid belt, so they knock out like 3 Pinkerton songs while they're in the Pinkerton asteroid belt. Then they get to the blue planet and do the f***ing Blue album in its entirety. Like those 10 songs. And I'm telling you, the visual aspect of what I saw, it was just everybody there was just screaming and had their mouth hanging open because nobody knew what to expect. It was absolutely one of the greatest concert experiences of my life. If anybody's listening and has the opportunity to see the Journey to the Blue Planet tour, do yourself a favor. It is so worth it. It was amazing. I can't stop thinking about it.
That is how you do it. I mean, if you're going to do it,
Yes.
You pay for
Make
2
it
ghost
was
bitches,
incredible. Like
and then you go.
in between songs,
You get your ghost bitches together.
like when the alien shows up and tries to stop them, like Rivers said to the drummer, he was like, "What's with this guy?" And then the drummer was like, "I can't stand him. He destroyed my sweater." And they're like, maybe we should stop and pick you up a new sweater. So they take the spaceship to like an alien Beverly Hills and then play Beverly Hills.
Sure.
Like
Dude.
that.
So they
level-
turned their music into a musical.
Yes.
Now I feel like an idiot because I saw your post and I asked Liz, like, do you want to go see Weezer? And she's like, I've seen him 3 times. And I was like, all right, never mind.
Oh,
Now I really wish I would have been at that.
it was like going to a movie. It was outstanding. Outstanding. And Flaming Lips and Dinosaur Jr. opened for them.
Oh,
Flaming Lips put on, I mean, that's what they do. They brought out the giant pink robots on stage, and they had that whole thing going on with a laser light show. That was fantastic. Dinosaur Jr. were just grungy and loud, and like I was 15 all over again, just like absolutely enjoying myself. I'm getting goosebumps as I'm sitting here talking about it. It was
you've
out of
got
this world
me.
great.
I mean, your last 2 fired ups have just been like, I need to go to a concert that's next level.
yeah.
I need to find the DVD of the concert because I don't. What I don't want to do is all of the everything except the concert.
Yeah.
Right.
I want to sit down and watch.
sit
the
in
concert.
traffic.
Yep.
Park the car.
Yep.
Buy your $12 beers.
Right.
And seeing all the stuff in Vegas, the dome thing,
Yeah.
that's just like, I can't even wrap my brain around what they're doing with that.
Sphere.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Or Sphere,
It's
yeah.
crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that's it. That's my 2 fired up. I just wanted to get them out there.
All right. It's fair.
Yeah, I agree. I said earlier this season, if not last season, that I just am done going to concerts, and you have got me thinking I've done goofed.
Yeah.
There are some events that are next level right now, and they are worth
Here's the
putting
caveat.
up with.
I have to take everything that you get excited about with a grain of salt.
For sure. Yeah, I'm the same guy that gets fired
one
up
of
over
the
a
most
TV show as
beautiful
well.
things about you is that you get so excited and impassioned about things. I would take that 10 times out of 10 versus somebody who shits on everything. But you say almost everything that you just saw or went to was the greatest thing you've ever seen or been to.
Yeah.
The bar is so high.
Yeah,
for sure.
The bar
Yeah.
never goes below 10 for you.
For me,
Yeah.
because of this show that we do, I can't believe what he's saying until he's like a good 2 minutes in. I'm like, is he bullshitting? Is there a
Is there a
punchline that's
Jolene
coming?
coming?
Because he's going to try to hit us with that. So I still don't trust your stories until you're a good couple minutes.
I got to get
That's
at least
true.
2 minutes in.
Yeah,
Sure.
that's true.
Yeah.
These are real stories. We can move on.
That's a wrap. You know what, Geoff? You don't get to be here very often. I know we're not trying to take
I'm
forever.
in fact
but
never here.
Are you fired up about something?
I'm pretty fired up. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hit us with it.
I'm fired up for Birdbrain playoffs, which is coming up. Starts phase 1 is October 13th.
Does this mean this is like a playoffs to the league that has been going on, or what does this look like?
Yes. So anyone who's played in Birdbrain all year from April to October, you earn points for each person you beat. If you get to 300 points, you qualify for playoffs. Playoffs is in 2 phases. The first phase is, again, for anyone who reached 300 points. We play 2 rounds. Handicap is applied to both rounds. The first round is going to be at Knock Knolls, and the second round is going to be at Crest Creek, the Tips, the tippiest Crest Creek lake.
Just the tips.
Exclusively Tips.
Yeah.
I want to come watch.
That's a really cool format for a league.
Yeah, it's gonna be, and this is gonna be cool because we barely ever played Knock Knolls. And it's not the hardest course, but it has some specific
get
like
you.
short lines.
Yeah.
So it's not gonna be a big birdie fest. And Crest Creek on top of that, in the longs is gonna, I think, create some good separation with the handicap in play too. So
Man, that sounds fun.
so then if you
Combined
get
scores
there-
of those 2 rounds.
correct. So
Yeah.
it plays as a tournament with handicap, double applied, so to speak, round 1 and 2. And then top 8 from there go to the next round, the next week. I don't think we published where finals will be. I don't know if that was intentional to not publish that. I got to talk to Tom about that. But
How long have you been operating this format where it's like a
as long as I've known, so 2017 at least is how they've done this. So yeah, top 8 go to the finals. You are seeded, based on how many points you got in the regular season against somebody, and you play them handicap applied stroke play for the first round. If you win, you then go to the final 4, which is another stroke play round, just the 4 of you on a card. And then 40, 30, 20, 10 is how you pay it out. It's a big payout because $1 from each round all year has gone to that purse.
dude.
Good for you guys.
So
See, yeah, Birdbrain does things on another level compared to most clubs in my experience. And that's why really excited to hear some of the other things you're doing, like stats wise, to help keep members like engaged and like getting more out of their experience of being a member of the club than most clubs.
Yeah.
That's super
And
fascinating.
I do really appreciate the handicap aspect because
Yeah.
it's all inclusive at that point.
Right.
yeah.
So,
Awesome. We will chop that up in just a bit, but first, I think we got a little Callahallander rundown to get
Yes,
to.
sir. Callahallander rundown. And because I've realized that I really don't like the way that I typically do the Callahallander rundown, it always sounds like I'm reading because I am. And I hate
You're going
myself
off the
for
top?
it. I'm going off the tizop.
Harry Mack style.
I got 4 things I want to talk about. First being the upcoming 10th anniversary of Dellwood, the Canyons, the course on September 20th.
Dude.
We will be doing a flex start that day from, I believe, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Normal cost, $5, 15 if you are a non-member, and 5 for an ace pot.
What
That
was
is
the
a
date?
Friday, September 20th. So stoked on that. Can't believe it is the 10-year anniversary of the course. Like submitting the approval for the sanctioning for that, I was like, yo, 10 years is a chunk. So
This episode is dropping that day.
this episode
Somebody
is
might be
dropping that
listening,
day.
and then,
so
like,
if you are
you
listening
turning in their car.
first
Go play.
thing in the morning right now,
Yeah.
absolutely, the
Calling
Edward
off work.
Akovitzes and the big whizzes,
mhm.
I'm sure they'll all know about the flex from posts that we do about it, but if you don't know, now you know. So come out to Delhi from 8 to 5 and play that flex and celebrate the 10th anniversary of the course. It's insane.
10th anniversary of a world-renowned course that is the culmination of one man's dream.
I also still feel like I am just getting started. I have a laundry list of things that I still want to do on that course and to continue to elevate what it means to have a course like that and to hopefully elevate the next generation of people that are going to come and or do it somewhere else in the Chicagoland area so we could keep pushing this thing and see how high we can go. So-
I really want to interrupt with a side thing, but I'm going to Just remind me.
Yes.
Finish the Calendar
Yes.
rundown. We're going to come back to
Yes, sir.
that.
Second thing is the J-Town Championships. We talked last episode about the old swapperoo we did. This year, it is going to be, so if you're listening to this on Friday morning, it will be happening tomorrow on September 21st and 22nd. There are still spots now, so get your butts onto discgolfscene.com. Come on, Pete, and get registered for that, or reach out to me and we can get you checked in. But there are still spots, and we love having as many people out as possible because we always have a good ass time.
Confirmed.
So that is 2 rounds at Highland Park, upper and lower layouts that we've used out there before. Actually, I used the same layouts from Unstable Discourse Open 1 from last year. It was the same layouts. So it's similar to that. If you had a good time at that, then you come out to J-Town Champs.
Yeah.
Right? Following that, we do have the third item on the list, which is the 37th Shanahan Classic, which is going to be on October 12th and 13th. That will be going live for us right now tomorrow. So if you're listening to this, it's already gone live. It's already on discgolfscene.com. Come on, Pete. So get on there and get registered for that event. That is 2 rounds at Shanny, where we also use a upper and lower layout, some blue tees for the big boys and some white tees for the MA3 and below.
You have weight protected divisions now?
Yeah, you didn't know that?
I'm going to have to make a comeback.
Yeah, they got white divisions.
I'll
They
stop you right
got
there,
350
buddy.
and up divisions.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, 37th Shanahan Classic. Get on it. By the time you're listening to this, it's already live. It may already be full. That is a coveted event that is in its 37th year. We have obviously not been doing it for that many years. Shout out to Jesse Sains, who ran that tournament alongside all of the OGs, Gary Lewis, all the boys from back in the day. And we have been gratefully carrying that torch for 4 years now. So stoked to do that again. And last but not least on the calendar rundown is the GJTS Finals. Switcheroo. We were going to talk about this last episode, but decided not to. It was originally going to be at West Park, but because we decided to do Unstable Discourse Open out at West, we didn't want to repeat any courses. So we decided to bring it to a course where it would be a repeat again, but I think one that everybody will be happy about, which is Dellwood. For so many years, all the years that we've been doing it, people have said, why isn't the finals at Dellwood? Like, that's the track. You know, why do you guys do it at Trinity or wherever we've decided to do it? And we listened as we made some end of year changes, and we thought that was the best format to create the best vibes. We are going to do tee times for each division starting at 8 a.m. every 10 minutes and kind of giving everybody their time to shine, announcing names, making it feel special, and doing all of the award ceremonies that we would have typically done at the delis, which is the second point of this. The delis we have decided to not do this year.
Boo, but I understand.
Yes. I've talked to some people about it that have kind of raised questions. Why aren't you? And it boils down to a couple of different things. One, the delis was always surrounded by something that Doc had always put together, which was a year-long video of all the events over the year. If you've been there, you've seen those videos. They are amazing. Doc, having stepped away from being a tournament director this year, he was not present to make said video. So we really didn't think that we'd be able to fill all of that empty airtime during a 3 or 4 hour show.
We asked Jason if he could just,
And
Best I can come up with is like 45 seconds.
yeah.
okay, yeah.
So
That's also what she said.
it didn't feel right not having Doc's video. And if I'm being totally honest, and this obviously is not a shot at anybody that has attended, but it always feels like I'm twisting people's arms to come out for a good time. So we just kind of felt like the delis had a great 3-year run, and it was time to kind of hang up the delis, but bring all of the awesome vibes from that night to the finals. So I've also requested, and hopefully Mr. Kuprika is going to let me also run a flex start the same day of the finals, which is Sunday, October 27th, about 30 minutes after the last card that will tee off, which will be MPO lead for finals. We will start a flex start from 10:30 until 4 o'clock. That is also the same day as Groot, I think. So Mike,
beware of the group.
beware the Groot. So Mike was like, hey, there's another seats here happening. And I was like, please let me still do it, because it's kind of part of the fun to get everybody to come out and be a part of that day
Mhm.
and help create those vibes. So that was all off the top. Can I get some applause? I didn't read
God.
once.
I was trying to.
So that was the 4 things I wanted to talk about on this amazing Callahallander rundown, unofficially brought to you by
DiscGolfScene.com.
Jeff only.
Come on, Pete.
Hey.
Nice.
I've waited years to do
I
that.
know you already talked about your finals coming up, but does Birdbrain have any other events worth promoting while we have this time?
Shady Strokes at Shady Oaks will likely be announced between now and when this episode comes out. So look for the Disc Golf Scene link for that. I think it is Saturday, October 26th.
Ooh.
I'm pretty sure. It's usually not on a Saturday.
Ooh.
But yes, the thing's
That
gonna
was
move
also
around.
off the dome.
Yeah.
I have the one ball memorial that weekend, so it depends on whether it's Saturday or Sunday. That's Matt Jajko's event.
Yes.
To
The Jaj.
commemorate his lost ball, and I too have lost a ball. So once I heard it was a thing, I said, "Hey, I'm one of you," and then I've been going ever since. So
That's the tough thing about golf, man.
Yeah.
It's just easy to lose a ball.
yeah. That's why I stick with disc golf now.
Yeah.
It's much harder to lose a frisbee.
I have two things to plug real quick.
Plug.
Disc Golf Chicago has one is not a Disc Golf Chicago event. I did this last episode, but I'm doing it again. The day after this drops, so Saturday the 21st, the Friends of the Forest Preserve, which is another nonprofit organization that basically collaborates a lot with the Forest Preserves, they're hosting an event called Beer in the Woods. I believe it's at
Cool.
LaBaugh Woods, and Disc Golf Chicago is going to have a booth set up there. So if you like beer, disc golf, being outdoors,
It's like every single person I
check.
know.
right?
Yeah.
Come out and check out the event. And if you want to kind of hang out at our booth and help us talk to people about disc golf, that would be really helpful. Just ping us an email or a DM if you're interested in getting involved. That is always really appreciated. And then we have the 2024 Heinz Emerald Dragonfly Open.
Mhm.
That is our event at Rolling Knolls up in Elgin. That is a course that's on Forest Preserve property. It's the only permanent course on Forest Preserve property in Cook County. Beautiful course. I don't think it gets played often enough, so we always get excited to do this event. Registration is open already on discgolfscene.com. It is on Saturday, October 5th. Weather should be perfect that time of year, and the course is gorgeous, so come check it out.
Mm-hmm.
Heck yeah.
And that is the official wrap on the Callahallander Rundown, which means...
Well, before we get out of it, I just have a quick thought on it. Now that Dellwood has been open for 10 years, are you going to tell people that you've been open a Delcade? We'll be right back.
Hey, dude. Ready to play?
Yep, but first you got to see how totally dripped out my bag is.
Ugh, don't say dripped out. That is an insane amount of pins.
I got them from Nina at Disc Golf Pins. These pins have Riz.
Okay, definitely don't say Riz. They're great, but why so many?
It took this many to take my game from Skibbity to Sigma. Now my disc golf game is mad lit. I'm gonna get so many good...
I'm gonna go play somewhere else. The pins are great, but don't talk to me until you're done being so sus.
Negative aura, bruh. My bag is mewing. DiscGolfPins.com.
And we are back. That means it's time for us to get to the gin and juice.
There it is.
But before we do that, I have a local route shout out.
Ooh,
That was actually going to be my fired up for the day.
cool.
So I'm going to shoehorn it in right here. Today, I got a missed call from a number I didn't recognize, and my phone automatically ignores those, which I love because then I can either see if they left a voicemail or call it back. And I usually call it back just to see. And so I'm glad I called it back today because it was the person on the other end answered, and they're like, "I'm just calling to see if the disc golf course is open today," which is a phone call I get all the time because of Disc Golf Chicago's website. So you get all these people who are like new to disc golf, want to find out more, and they don't quite know what Disc Golf Chicago is. They call and ask, "Is the disc golf course open?" And I'm like, well, not only is disc golf open, like you can go play, a million different places. I just tell me kind of where you are and what you're looking for, and I can give you some direction.
Great, dude. Yeah.
I love
Disc
being,
golf help.
Yeah.
Yes, I love that role.
I would like to buy one disc golf, please.
Basically.
Yeah.
And this was her name is Nomi. She is from Mongolia and moved to Chicago. I don't know when. She lives in Pilsen right now, but she was like, I learned how to play in Mongolia, and I have like a few friends that play out there, but I don't know a lot of people out here. I want to start getting into more disc golf. I want to like make some disc golf friends, and just like, I just need to know kind of how do I get involved? And
Isn't that where the Paul Macbeth Foundation just put in a course? I swear I just saw a post today from them that their project 4.2 was in Mongolia.
I don't know.
I was thinking that I think I saw something about that, so that's very possible.
Yeah,
we were on the phone for like 30 minutes or so. Such a sweet person, and the thing that gets me fired up is like people finding disc golf and like just wanting to get into it and being able to like just here, let me give you some direction. So wherever you are you looking to kind of go play by yourself? Are you looking for like a solo kind of quiet thing, or are you looking for just the best possible experience? Because they're very different answers. And she was like, well, what's the best experience? And I was like, well, hands down, you got to go to Dellwood. That's like world ranked course. They have a pro shop on site. They'll tell you what kind of discs you should have, and you'll just soak up the magic and the feeling when you get there. And it's, it's going to be like nothing else you've ever seen before. If that's what you're looking for, you're going to have like this life-changing moment. She's like, well, I'm a little more of a loner, and where's like a quieter course I can go to? So she's going to go to 50 Acre Park.
Perfect.
Yes, it's close to her, but she was like, but I really like the sound of Dellwood, and like I'm excited to go. Like I want to find tournaments and leagues, and I want to start like getting into this. Like I need to make some more friends out here. And I was like, if you start going to disc golf events, you will have an automatic built-in like social network like right away.
Yeah.
So I was really fired up that like I get to have those conversations every now and then with just people who are super brand new to the sport. And she was a lovely human. Shout out to Nomi. I can't wait to hear how your round went at 50 Acre Park. Also ended up talking about the podcast, and she was like, I can't wait to listen. I told her I might talk about you on the show. So she's like, oh, I can't wait to listen. And if anybody sees Nomi out on the course, any of the courses, open up your arms and show her the love that, we all show each other.
Is this real?
Yeah. Why does it not sound real?
I don't know. With that name, I thought this was a Jolene thing. I was like,
the feeling that you have right now.
Yeah, right.
We have that every time you open your mouth, and now you know what it feels like.
Are you going? No, me's going. Something like I thought for sure. No, me was like, I'm bracing myself for impact.
No, I don't have it in me.
Bless
I couldn't do that. But
shout out, No me. I guess
that's my local route shout out for today. And now we can get to the gin and juice with Geoff Chappelle. Laid back. All right, there's a lot of different places we can start with the stuff that makes you such a unique person to talk to. And you were kind of telling us about, I feel like you, in the few hours we've been hanging out so far, your life has gone like a lot of different paths. I feel like lived in a lot of different places, studied a lot of different things, and you have just like this menagerie of skills and experiences that make you
I have a very particular set of skills.
I will make you suffer pain so unimaginable, you will wiggle and beg and pray for the gift of death.
Yeah. So in my mind, you are like the stat guy. I think a lot of people probably know you in that way. So can you just give us like where did stats become part of your life path?
Sure. So if I can rephrase the question for me.
Don't you dare. Don't you dare.
You all know what I'm saying at home. Well, my academic journey after high school started actually with chemistry. My bachelor's is in chemistry from Purdue University, Boiler Up. And I worked as a chemist after school for 5 or 6 years. The first portion of that was like just getting my feet wet in several industries. I did a lot of like contract to hire work. I worked in food.
Were you testing like acids and bases, getting your feet wet? Was that like jumping in different beakers?
Yeah. Oh, that's acidic. Yeah. Oh, that's
chem joke. Yeah. Chem joke, guys.
Chem joke.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did. I worked through QC/QA all the way up to R&D, and eventually it came time to, decide kind of as a matter of upward mobility, like what to do. And I kind of settled in pharmaceutical science, particularly formulation development. Essentially, when you make a pharmaceutical, you have two sides of it. You have the formulation people who are like actually putting it together with all its components. And then you have the analytical side who will take that sample and then verify that you got in the components that you should have. I worked with mostly like semi-solids, like creams and gels and ointments. And a lot of that requires...
I don't know why, but that's just funny.
Ointment?
I'm just
Always
ointment
funny.
guy.
Go ahead, Jay. Go ahead.
Ointment's
Take it.
Also, semi-solid? Are you kidding me? That's hysterical as well.
I'm often more unintentionally funny than I am
Yeah.
intentionally funny.
Jason damn near got whiplash when he
Semi-solid. I'm semi-solid right now.
There it is. There it was.
But yeah, eventually it came time to, look into pharmaceutical sciences, or like something that would definitely align with what I had done up until that point, so I could keep moving up like within a company.
Sure.
For whatever reason, it didn't really jive with me to continue like the pharmaceutical path. I knew it wouldn't guarantee like a higher position somewhere. And after reflecting for a lot, I didn't know if I wanted to stay in the lab, because the lab was cool.
This all sounds like a very calculated grown-up decision. I was really hoping the story was like you saw numbers when you were a kid and just like it just made sense to you. And
Well, then I took a series of aptitude tests online.
Oh, I thought you were gonna say
For
I
real?
took a bunch of acid.
Yeah.
Then
okay.
Started seeing
Saw
numbers.
numbers in the air.
Started seeing numbers everywhere. Well, no, I should have known through aggregating the results of several aptitude tests that statistics would be for me, but it took actually the test saying statistics would be for me.
Interesting.
I was between, like, a lot of them would come up statistics or data science, which was at the time a pretty hot field to get into. And finance and accounting came up a couple times. I had tried that in school just like as an elective, and it wasn't for me.
Were you already into disc golf at this sort of era of your life?
Yeah, actually, I had run up on Birdbrain kind of by accident. At the same time, I was like debating what to do for graduate school. Yeah, I was playing Black Bear, and all of a sudden there were like 40 more people there than there usually were at Black
Sure.
Bear. And yeah, just found them. And then a couple weeks later, I found them at Sunrise or something like that. Yeah, the stats was like completely separate at the time. And then I started going to school. I went to University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee for biostatistics. It was through the School of Public Health. So I learned a lot about community behavioral health promotion, a lot of things that I enjoyed learning about because I kind of have that propensity for helping, and I like the sense of like community togetherness that, stats can aid in the support of, or, sadly confirm that there's no significant statistical difference between, several interventions or what have you.
Can I ask if your propensity for like being helpful to the community, I guess I want to understand how you decided to like, how am I going to bring stats to disc golf, and how am I going to like get involved with Birdbrain? Like, can you
sure.
articulate that? Like,
Yeah.
I'm just speculating right now. So
yeah, I knew after talking to Dan, I knew that he was a numbers guy. And then like I learned that he was, an accountant. And when I started going to Birdbrain and caring about the standings, I saw that it was in a series of spreadsheets. And
you're like, ooh.
yeah, and I enjoyed it. I liked what was going on.
Definitely,
Um,
definitely got semi-solid over those spreadsheets.
there were some pivot tables,
Ew.
Oh,
some reference ranges.
This feels like a throwback to the rub.
I feel like I'm at school.
yeah.
But yeah, I complimented Dan on his V lookups, and then we just started talking, and
he creamed and/or gelled
Yeah.
over them.
there were semi-solids around. But then eventually I like kind of clued him in that I was into statistics, and I was learning two different programming languages at the time in school. One is more of a licensed language I use for work, and I don't really use on my home computer. And then one is this language called R, just the letter R, and it's a statistical programming language. So at first I just wanted to like kind of ease the load off him. And I'm like stammering over everything I say, just like,
Yeah, because
listening to him
Jason's reacting
salivate.
to everything you're saying.
I've never realized. I mean, I have little kids. They're not old enough to call me on it yet, I guess.
Yeah.
Sure.
Oh, they
It's only
will.
a matter of time.
They
Load.
will.
You can-
Every word you hit, I'm just gonna say it again loud. So that's how we'll deal with this.
So wait, you kind of suggested to Dan like, hey, I could help out with bringing stats to the club, basically.
Yeah, so he was basically like overwriting a spreadsheet with like the current stuff, because he would add a column for like the scores, and then by adding the column for the scores, he had the spreadsheet set up that it would carry over to points, and then set up a total standings and everything. And I thought I could do it kind of all in one step, and maybe make it less clunky to read for new people, and maybe have it on like a website on its own that admittedly has a bad link, but I'm working on that part. It's just a really long, clunky link that I can't like say to people. You know what I
So
mean?
am I right that basically players in Birdbrain can go to a website or some kind of page, and you have like all the stats from like leagues and whatnot for them to just absorb?
Yeah, I have their points and handicap. I have the schedule for that year. I have the all-time points through 2016, which was the first spreadsheet that I could acquire. And I update all-time points with each round. Course records for each unique layout we've played. I think we're up to like 53 or 54 unique layouts.
Wow.
Some of them are dormant now, like, West Main Park or certain layouts of certain courses. Fairfield, old ones get retired because of new
Sure.
hole changes. But
Yeah.
there are 50 some odd course records, all-time aces, and then what they won in the ace pot. I'm working on like tournament winners, like all time through the Birdbrain events, whether it's Spring Thing or Shady Strokes, just the ones that we've put on to have like a Hall of Champions on it. But yeah, my goal at first in telling Dan was like, wasn't quite like fake it till you make it. I knew I could do it, but I hadn't done it yet. I just had learned about it in school, and I'm like, I could probably do this just to streamline it and take just take that part of the running things off of you. And then eventually it sort of evolved into, hey, you want to come like help run this with us? And just
So at this point, are you kind of do you guys have roles within the organization, or like what's your place in Birdbrain aside from the stats guy?
Besides chief statsman, I don't know what
You're
else.
making that up.
Well, yeah, you got to make up your own roles.
All right. Okay. All right.
But as chief statsman, I
Say it again.
I basically just answer any and all like handicap, etc. questions. And then like, I mean, if Dan, Reno, and Tom aren't there, I'm the guy who runs it. I think it's in that order. People would rather see Dan run it first, and then Tom, Reno, me, I think is the order it goes in.
That makes sense. I think every club has that, like, who's the kind of face of it, and then you've got your like generals, if you will.
Sure.
And,
Right.
Yeah. How do you feel like the stats is like being received by people? Like the club members, like what kind of feedback do you get from people?
I get mostly positive feedback. They really like that. At first, when I took over the system, I guess 2022 is the first year that I did it, and I didn't change the system at all. I just made it just like Dan did it, relative to par on every course. I mean, I started to kind of intuit or like put it together that wasn't going to work as far as like maintaining fairness throughout a season is concerned. And it's not like we were worried about like baggers playing like just hard courses and then coming back to cash in on like Black Bear and Wheeler with their fat handicaps, but like you'd always have like a one-off person who by chance showed up like that.
Sure.
So
There's nobody in the disc golf community that has that much foresight to plan.
no, that's so
strategy.
calculated.
Like, yeah,
That's
like,
I have no
there's no
idea who would even. I mean, we have a 47 round season. You really like, I'm going around, 3, 8, and 43 to like make $80. Like, I don't understand. But
Imagine having that plan though, skipping all the weeks and just waiting to make your move and show up.
right.
Yeah.
But most of the feedback for me is like kind of asking what I did after that, like the system where I added slope and then adjusted what someone's total adjustment would be in their handicap, like at the conclusion of a round. So I did like a series of, I think 2 or 3 videos, like just within Birdbrain's page to like kind of explain like, yeah, the rating. I mean, if you're not familiar with like how golf will show you slope and rating on a scorecard relative to par.
No, I mean, I'm personally not. For me, you're gonna have to explain.
Oh, for sure.
Everything, like
Well, yeah.
explain like I'm 5.
Yeah. So,
Your mommy and daddy give you money for a lemonade stand.
so you'll have here. I actually have
Next year, I'll be 6.
some reference and stuff. So what I did was I compiled all the scores from what I call the UDisc era, which is 2021 to now, and then I took those and I kind of pulled.
What's the UDisc era for somebody who has no idea?
The time Birdbrain started using UDisc data officially. So the 2021 season was when we
I
would
think
yell
that's
check
And
in on
really-
most
UDisc.
people,
Most
really.
people,
Yeah, that's
started
when it
doing
was
that.
Yeah.
majorly adopted. Yeah.
Yeah. So the UDisc era is what I use. I could go back and grab stuff from previous spreadsheets, but I'm not really comfortable doing that. With you want the layout to be consistent, and
Sure.
that's all I can really ask for in data integrity. So I found like grand mean relative to par, like throughout all those rounds. Course be damned, everything. You were 1 over par here, 2 over par here for years, and now you average out to X over par. So then I made a sliding scale for which the average rating on a certain course, like Black Bear plays pretty easy. The rating is like minus 4.5. Therefore, we'd expect like a scratch golfer in Birdbrain, a guy with a no handicap, to be around that -4, -5. Conversely, if he only shoots like even that day, that's going to put up his handicap like a +4 or 5. So that's one aspect of the calculation, is just that rating, as opposed to just doing it relative to par, like right off rip, right off your UDisc card. The second aspect is the slope. And I created the slope because there are certain courses. We're spoiled here in the area, everyone knows, with so many different courses and layouts and difficulties. Sometimes the difficulty affects different pools differently.
Yeah, I would say that I heard a lot of comments about West Park being. What were the comments people were making about West Park at the UDO?
It's a ratings killer because you have to shoot so hot to even hit your rating that
That's
a
what
lot
it
of
is.
people won't play because they got to shoot 12 down to hit 970 or whatever. You know,
That stuff is so over my head that like when people are making those comments, I'm like, first off, don't know what you're saying, and B, is it really that big of a factor to you?
Well, there are a couple things. One, half those people that are saying that have no idea what they're saying, and they heard it from somebody else that probably didn't know what they were saying.
That's tracks for the disc golf community.
But the other thing is, why don't you just play disc golf and let the chips fall?
right.
Please.
That's always my argument, is just don't worry about that so much. But then there's guys that really concern themselves with ratings and how it's going to affect all the things they've worked for to have that number that we sometimes call arbitrary.
But if you're a
isn't if
970 and you
worked
are
hard
that
for it.
good, then you will shoot 12 down. So
Correct.
don't worry about it.
right,
Exactly.
I think that's kind of that sentiment is like what I was probing for about like the way it's received, because I
Probe.
feel like some people are
It is
going to
funny.
just show up and play and they're like, oh, Geoff does stats. That's cool.
Mhm.
And then there's going to be another group of people who are like, one of the things I love about being involved here is like, we have a guy who keeps track of all this stuff and like it
Right.
changes everything for me.
I think if it hasn't been neutral, it's been positive to me about like kind of adjusting how the handicap system works. I think people already came for the handicap system before, and the fact that I was adding like this level of precision to it and like taking the time, I think what I often like smirk at is people are like, man, you must be slaving over this stuff over and over and over.
That was my first thought. Yeah.
And like the work's been done. It took me, I don't know, between 1 and 2 work weeks to like get the whole system up. Since then, each off season, I've been like tinkering with like the next thing I want to do, whether it's with like the actual handicaps themselves or like last year I added this function in R. You can basically just kind of send all your output to a notepad file. So I end up doing a recap. If you've seen it on the Birdbrain page, it'll be thank you to the ex-homies who showed up today. These were the 6 hardest. These were the 6 easiest.
Oh, yeah. I
Playoff
have seen that.
qualifiers,
Yep,
no
yep, yep.
aces.
Mhm.
All that's automated. I have a small like little function of each part of like one of these scripts I have that just like outputs that.
So
lets
if
me know.
another club wanted to adopt this, is it possible to, would it be, what would that even look like? Because I'm sure, I mean, as somebody who ran leagues for a long time, that in the back of my mind, I'm like, I never want to run leagues ever again. But if I did, I wouldn't want to unless there was like this level of professionalism, basically.
right. So I guess I should preface it with what I actually do.
Sure.
I'm a biostatistician for a clinical trial CRO, contract research organization called CTI. It doesn't stand for anything. It's just CTI, clinical trial services and consulting. It used to stand for something.
Jason, what did it used to stand for?
Chimichanga taco intestine.
Exactly. The
Mhm.
Chimichanga Taco Intestine.
Yep.
Founded in the early 80s. They quickly switched to just CTI after they lost a bid.
The focus groups came back.
Right.
That's like
Come back and like,
that's
what's with the
the
name?
counterpart to a UTI is you get a
Is-
CTI
yeah, you
because you
get
get
a
the
CTI.
chimichanga tacos sitting.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right in
you-
your intestines. Yeah.
Yeah,
I'd much rather have a UTI.
yeah.
So it's essentially how the company works is that like a biotech, big or small, will come to us with a product they want to launch a clinical trial for. And we have every department possible, just a sandbox for them to take several departments and do their thing with the clinical trial. They need us to get sites, sure. They need us to monitor these sites, sure. They need medical oversight, sure. Statistics, either they have a statistician with them and we're taking more of like a supervisory like role for our guys just to make sure we're on the same page. Sometimes they don't have a statistician, and that's the onus is on us to write up a plan, make sure it's all set, and, go from there, whether there are data issues along the way or certain analyses that need to be worked out, so be it. But it's all, it's all on us. So I'm trained both academically and professionally to handle this sort of statistical burden, because it's not burdensome to me, know how it works. And with
so another club could not do this.
Another club could. They would just take my package.
But they need
Package.
you. They need a Geoff to like implement it.
They don't necessarily need a Geoff. And that's what I, hope to work on in this off season with automation, which I was close to doing this year, and then UDisc came out with an update that threw me off.
That was going to be my question, was could you output this into a format that is mostly automated so that anyone else could use it?
Yeah, I'm not there yet, but that is the goal, because there are a number of directions I could take, and I think I'm unsure about where I want to point my education. If I want to learn how to build like an app, whether it's a web-based app, whether it's a phone app, whether I just, have all of these scripts and have someone download R and run them, I'd be super comfortable with that. But that requires a certain amount of computer knowledge that some people might not be comfortable with. So I'm really mulling over like a couple branches I could go off of for that. But the goal is to like have this as an option, wherein an aspiring league would be like, hey, handicap system sounds cool. And even if not, like an all-time points and, full schedule stuff like this, that sounds cool. And I'm like, yeah, I mean, let's figure it out together.
What's your opinion on what if UDisc just wanted to like acquire what you've built and integrate it into their system? Like, I don't even know if that's possible, but.
Oh, I'd love that. That would save me some time, wouldn't it? But I think paranoia is a strong word, but like every time I try to like make an advancement in this, I'm like, is UDisc just gonna come out tomorrow and be like,
that's what I'm
we rolled out leagues.
That's what I'm afraid of for
and
you.
The UDisc rating system was like a big kind of scare, because I'm like, oh, they're using big data now. Like, oh, they're piecing together. They should aggregate all this to determine like the average skill levels. And I'll give UDisc credit. The vignettes with which they describe like all the math they're using and like the source of data, it's all really written well. If you haven't read that, they do it every time they roll out something. There's a little blog on how it works. I highly recommend. It's written in a very, palatable level, and there's not a lot of droning on about like data and like all this stuff. It's very easy to read.
Do they have like a pop-up option?
Oh, they should. They should have like baby books.
I need a lot of pictures. And
I was going to say, Alex and I are typically scrolling through those emails looking for pictures.
right. GIFs are helpful. Yeah.
Is there's like a cardboard book version of that? Yeah. Right.
Ultimately, if UDisc were to do something like that, and it wasn't like them coming to me and being like, hey, we want to use this system, blah, blah, blah. If they just did it on their own, I would still try to, I guess, offer assistance with like things it doesn't catch, because there are features in UDisc now where you can like set a handicap prior to your round. And we would use that in a league, but we can't exactly guarantee that everyone entered their handicap incorrectly. Like there's and
have you had any communication directly with UDisc ever?
I've emailed them several times to correct some of their shit.
Oh, wow.
I like that.
Mostly on like the league round outputs. Sometimes they label variables as numbers in their characters, and that makes me mad. And like sometimes they'll fix it, sometimes they won't. The update that got me off of like being fully automated, man, I was mad. The people I played rounds with like that week, I don't know. Like that, I was such a pill. I was just so pissed. I was so mad at like what they did, and for no reason, because they were just so flippant with me, like over email. And I was like, so they changed when you export the CSV. It used to say club name and then the date it came out. Originally, like 2 years ago, it had the day before instead of the day the round was.
That would screw everything.
And it was like, so I was adding one to sequence, and like the week before, like between my email to them and them fixing it, I was like just adding one, and that was an easy thing to cover. And they're like, okay, and then we fixed it and we were good. And then a year later, they made this update. I think it was around when they started doing like the round 1 and round 2 within like an event on UDisc, and it threw everyone off with respect to checking in for a minute. So now they want to do league name, the round description, and then the date. And with more coordination with Dan, I could automate that part, but he makes all the events and labels them like Birdbrain at a course. So I could like somehow finagle that into my like data set to get it to automate, but it's too like clunky. Like in programming practices, that's not something you want to make programmatic if there's too much variation in there.
Does this feel reminiscent of your issue with the PDGA live scoring when we were on the Fox Prairie trip, where they'd made some kind of update that like completely threw off the way you were used? I can't remember exactly how it went.
That is the kindergarten version of a problem, and you're talking to like a graduate school.
Yeah.
Well, we need
Student.
we have to keep it on the kindergarten level for me.
It's humorous that you would think that those things would have anything to do with
No.
each other, because
I think there's a correlation
No. Yeah.
because UDisc had not probably thought about that issue, but would understand the issue. Whereas the PDGA would have not even given like the first thought to what you were asking. And
Right.
the problem that we had was a much simpler issue.
Right.
And I think that is a huge problem.
with a simple answer that still isn't provided, as where like it would likely just not even happen if you were using UDisc, because they would have already thought about that.
Correct.
In my mind, UDisc is like the forefront of doing like has their shit together more than any other like disc golf body that I can think of. Maybe I'm not right about that, but that's in my mind. That's who UDisc is. You know, comparing that to the PDGA's, they purchased Statmando and they're working on live scoring. Is what the PDGA doing with Statmando and stats? How are like in your mind? How is it comparing to what UDisc is doing with stats?
It seems a little haphazard, and I mean, that makes total sense given the timing of when they decided to, break it off with UDisc and do their own thing. For what it is, it's going fine. I think the live app does a good job of capturing what UDisc did. I don't know what the issue is with the footages of putts. I think that's a big issue to some people. Whether it's 6 or 60, it seems people can't like keep track of the number of feet. But if you're looking for things besides exact putting stats, I think it's doing a good job. What I don't see like after the fact, and what I'd love to see, because it's what, legitimizes some other major sports, is like actual recaps of hole data, or maybe like incidences of OBs at a particular spot. Like you have all the
Outliers.
information. Yeah.
Yeah.
You have all that information. And I would think you have several passionate individuals who would comb through all that. And with like, you brought up Statmando, that started as a SQL database. Like those guys are just really talented at creating these very specific queries. And I'm not knocking them. SQL is a great database structuring language. It's just like they were just doing what other major sports did for disc golf. Like this is the last time someone's won, 3 or 4 Elite Series events was
That stuff
this guy
makes
in
such a difference
2016.
to your viewing experience. To
Exactly.
hear those little tidbits.
Oh, if you watch an MLB game, they pull that shit out of their ass so fast.
Oh, constantly.
And it makes a lot of the commentary palatable, between pitches, because you're looking for that kind of stuff. So it's surprising to me that they don't do more. Just what you said on the back end of, you see the total scores, you see some of the fairways and regulation, that kind of stuff, barely. And to 95% of the players, that is enough. Who won? By how many?
What was that rated?
Yeah, right.
Just want some fat 4-digit numbers.
Yep.
And in my early days of like just putzing around on R and figuring out what R can do, I made the little Scratch Finder app that I posted on the J-Town, all the like the rating of even par for every Dellwood layout, like all the funky stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And it ranged from like 880 to 915. It was like, this happened because of this and this. And I'm like exploring it. And then all of a sudden I'm like, I'm going down the wrong hole. Like I'm going down the wrong path here. I did not exactly stifle myself there. But
Careful, Jason. Careful.
You need another like counter on this episode of all the things that
Jason
Jeff said
is just-
that made Jason go.
he's like peaked. I'm like,
Sweating bullets. Yeah.
You probably missed it when you said the word query. Jason was
oh
like,
yeah.
My nostrils flared.
I want to just expand on what we're already, kind of where we already are. And
Sure.
do you feel like there's something missing from the user experience on UDisc or the PDGA website that could keep players more engaged or informed?
Well, I'm biased. I don't know if the community thing is it, because I have enough community elsewhere, but that's coming from, a place of privilege. So I understand that there might be areas with fewer courses and really no means to communicate, and having that app to be your one-stop shop for all that is important. So while I probably won't use that part of it, that's a great way to like improve the whole like UDisc experience.
And
I
they're
think-
rolling that out now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Just started.
Yeah.
A
Yeah.
couple days ago.
So yeah, several states are in. I think Illinois is one of them
Mhm.
that is. But yeah, I think maybe in the community you can be more motivated to keep your own stats and kind of watch your progression that way. I think the ability to export your data would be so cool, like your own rounds. I don't understand why that's not like a really doable function.
Just like download and get an Excel of all
Yeah,
your
just
data.
everything. However you want to slice it. I mean, they have it all. So if you wanted to break down, I mean, I've played Wheeler Park officially on UDisc probably like 95 times because I live in St. Charles and that's just where I go from just
Sure.
if I have an hour. But I would love to break down, like I've probably hit 45 in like 10 different ways. Like which ones do I always get,
I like the idea of
Mhm.
you doing your own color commentary on your rounds. Like this is actually the first time at Wheeler Park in a fall round of disc golf that I have birdied the last 3 holes of this course.
Oh no,
Like,
exactly. Yeah.
Between the hours of 1 and 3.
Exactly. Yeah. That is how I feel like when I'm
Yeah.
watching the NFL, there is every stat that they share is like, this is the first or this is the biggest. And then there's like 5 pre-qualifiers to the stat.
Yeah.
And then it's like,
Yeah.
how do they even like gather that?
Right.
And why do I care? I mean,
Yeah.
I do.
Yeah.
For some reason, I still think that stat is really cool.
Relevant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. I didn't realize this, but you can go onto Facebook and go into your settings and download everything that
You've ever
has
said or done.
ever been on your account.
Yeah.
And it's gigs of data, right?
Yep.
It like everything you've posted, every comment you've made, every page
Everything you've
that
deleted.
visited, every single thing, right? But you can't download the round ratings from UDisc. That's crazy to me. Yeah.
No, it doesn't aggregate it. It doesn't let you know, like, where this is trending. I mean, it's big data. So statistically speaking, it's not going to vary that much now that they've like put a bunch of rounds into there.
Sure. Yeah.
I'd want to see how I'm trending overall.
Right. Yeah.
And, besides PGA ratings, there's another rating system over in Europe called Disc Golf Metrics. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that.
Mm.
But when I was
Because
like,
the metric system.
yes, with an X.
Yeah.
So it's like,
Ooh.
it's not metrics like powerlifting. It's with an I. And
Check
it's-
out the
yeah.
big brain on Jeff.
Yeah.
I can't usually get them because my girlfriend's a vegetarian, which pretty much makes me a vegetarian. But I do love the taste of a good burger.
But so when I was big into just researching like how all this stuff works, I was on a Discord server through Reddit, and there were a couple Europeans in there, and they were showing me metrics. And there are a couple things that metrics does that's different than the PDGA. It sort of results in your metrics rating being like 10 to 15 points higher than your PDGA, like comparing apples to apples. Metrics will weight your more recent rounds a little bit higher, which PGA does too to a certain extent.
Mhm.
But the weighting is different, such that like if you and your friends are playing in a weekly league, you can more or less just trend in the same direction if you're all playing more or less the same. So it's not like this like stagnant thing like the narrative pre-tournament at West Park, or I've heard at Crest Creek a bunch of times. I've probably been guilty of saying it once or twice that like, man, I need 15 down to like not
Right.
lose rating points here.
Yeah.
Right.
But with metrics, it's sort of like it just meshes out the whole field. Like no one really has like that issue, or maybe they're just more European and stoic and cool with it than we are. That's an option too.
Probably.
Nah.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
You've told me this before in DMs when we've chatted, but also Sheila put together this incredible list of questions. This is some of the best producing I've ever seen, by the way, Sheila.
well, dang.
So I want to
honored.
ask you this thing that I was planning to ask you anyways, but
Liar. Go ahead.
your goal is like to become the guy for all things disc golf stats and like eventually have it be a source of revenue or income. Have you mapped out what that path realistically could look like, and like what does the timeline look like for all that, and where's your head at on that?
Well, I would like to make GeoffStatsLLC a real company and not put not a real company in very small
Wait, when you say
parentheticals.
LLC, it's not an LLC yet.
No, it's not a real company. I just know it'll be called GeoffStatsLLC.
It's like $200 to become an LLC.
You got $200?
I would fund it. I'd be an
Oh, I'd
investor.
yeah.
definitely invest. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, well,
You
I
got to
should
win
make it an
Birdbrain
LLC.
finals.
Yeah,
And then you'll have the capital.
I'll take my finals
you go.
money. That and gas home. That'll be it. But
He's already like figured out the stats to be able to win. That's
Yeah,
what
well,
he's,
yeah,
he's he's culminating this entire programming scheme so that he
knows-
can shoehorn himself into
Yeah.
the winning side.
How to do it in numbers, but then
Right.
he's got to physically do it in
then I have
Yeah.
to physically
Real time,
do it.
right.
Yeah, I do want to become a company. My timeline, I don't know. The weird thing is now that I'm sitting here DMing with you and several others, like made it a thing. It was
Manifest it, man. You got to put it out.
Yeah, I didn't read The Secret very closely, but sure enough, I'm like, thinking that this could be a thing. And the more I think it, the more like the coding comes seamlessly and people like are coming with questions and stuff. So I don't have the entrepreneurial acumen that the other people in this room do. Listening to you guys for years inspired me to like really go for it myself.
Damn.
Hell yeah.
Dude.
Yeah, because I'm not like, I don't know. If I'm on a bus, I got the map, right? I don't want the attention of the driver, but I know I'm capable. I just I'm not the one to speak out in the forefront or really act on anything. But in listening to like the community and understanding my capabilities, I think I could be the guy. I think the issue is for me marketing it and having
Having that E in your name.
yeah.
Also, yeah.
Yeah.
I think that you are, in my experience, one of the perfect people to bring to disc golf. One of the glaring misses is an explanation behind getting to the solution.
Yeah.
One of the most aggravating things to me as someone that puts on events and does what we do is not having your brain inside my head when somebody has a question about ratings, whether they're UDisc or PDGA, but having a program or business, whatever it is, that explains it to us like we're 5, shows us how you get to that number rather than just applying it and saying, see you later. I've expressed that to you. And I think that's one of the biggest things that we could use in our sport is we talk about passion about those types of things. Well, not everybody's going to be passionate about it, but they will be when they can learn it and see how it happens.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's a big frustration for me is like everyone relies so heavily on PDGA ratings and no one knows why.
Yeah.
Except what division it puts them in.
That we get a rating is the only thing that we rely on.
Right.
Instead of being able to go to pdj.com or GeoffStatsLLC.com, not a real company in parentheses, and being able to plug in players and plug in a track and plug in all of those things that we think are being applied to this number, but we're really not sure how it's coming to life. And then being able to see it happen through the math that's right there. I'm not a nerd about this stuff, but I would quickly become one, knowing that I can plug in data that gives me this number that now I understand how we got there.
Yeah. One of the things I really love that UDisc is doing with their rating system is we don't have to look back on previous rounds from previous tournaments like PDGA. If I shoot 5 down at Dellwood, I'll have to go, let me go back to Clash and see who shot 5 down. Let me see what that would have been rated, right? And the conditions aren't the same. None of that can apply, but that's the only way we can get an approximate value. Whereas UDisc, you can go and say, this is the end of my round. What is my rating? And how does it compare to the other players that have played, given that like aggregate score that they have put together? That is really encouraging to me. As long as people start to understand that that can be the case and more of that can come and they can understand how it works, I think everybody's going to be a nerd about it.
Totally.
Yeah, I think the transparency is important. And I think the black box of the PDGA definitely frustrates people. In addition to it being like kind of this prestigious thing, so to speak, like when it goes higher, people are like, oh, that guy's good. It's never like
Kristen Tatar broke 1,000.
Yeah.
1,000 what?
Yeah, tell me what that means.
Who is they?
Yeah,
right.
just
and things like in chess, it's ELO. It's a calculated thing.
Right.
And you might not like the BCS, but there was a formula for it. It put people in a specific ranking system. There was an element of transparency that was definitely missing in the PGA. And then, I'm not gonna say I tweeted at them one time because I was looking at the Memorial, a traditionally very large tournament. And there were ratings from 1050 to 650, all in like the same field, playing the same layout.
Yeah.
And naturally, if you're gonna have a slope with linear regression, you can't account for all that. Like if you get average strokes, average rating. So the slope dropped like halfway through. Went from like a 9 to an 8 or something like
unmanageable.
that.
Yeah.
So I like tweeted at PJ, I'm like, the slope changed halfway through. I was sure you were doing like a fixed intercept of 1,500 to do all this, blah, blah, blah. Cause I'd been looking at it for like a couple weeks. And they're like, yeah, we don't really talk about that. And I'm like, oh, well, okay. Well, I guess I either figured it out or I'm going down the wrong path entirely. So I'm just going to leave it alone and like do my own thing.
That's
Exactly what they wanted.
Yeah, that's the equivalent of you finding like metal from outer space in the woods, and then all of a sudden the FBI shows up and they're like, "You never saw this."
Yeah, they took out the little Men in
Yeah,
Black.
and yeah, like the Men in Black like
I didn't see it.
erase
I
your
love
memory.
that.
Like,
That's a disc golf comedy sketch right there.
Yep.
why, if they found someone that would tweet to them that would nerd out so hard that would even know what that means, wouldn't they be like, DM us and we'll talk about it?
That's the mystery between that and me emailing UDisc about stupid CSV output things.
Sure.
I've never formally applied to any of these places, but I welcome them to reach out if they want a statistician who takes care in that. Like as part of my job, I'm dealing with several different kinds of raw data coming from who knows where, be it like a cytology screening, sleep data, or something from like a glucose monitor. It all varies, so there's no like set way to take that in. So say that to say I'm not afraid of whatever like
You are
data
uniquely
source
qualified
yeah,
for stuff like
I've
this.
seen weird stuff when it comes to
Yeah.
spreadsheets. Like I've seen spreadsheets you wouldn't even recognize as such. They're just in weird, little text files, and we have to figure out a way to extract the actual data. So if it's something like that, I'm not afraid. Send it to me. I'll figure it out. That was a fun part of Sandy Point, like Big Cat and Tyler Lisak and others. They were talking about like something they want to do with clubs and like pooling people together and doing like match play and stuff like that. And I'm like, I got it, dude. Yeah, I can pull that up. I can program that. I can give you the hardest difficulty holes to give the guy with the worst handicap a stroke on 3, 4, and 9. Done. Like it's not an issue. Like the limit is whatever that league director's dream is.
The limit does not exist.
We were all thinking the same thing.
It does not exist.
I'm no calc guy, but yeah, I don't think this limit exists.
Limits. Why couldn't I remember anything about limits? Limits. That was the week Aaron got his haircut. Oh God, he looks so cute.
That's the goal. I want it to be under a real company's name and umbrella and be paid for it. Sure. If it has to be pro bono around here because we have a very specific disc golf situation, and that's what people understand, so be it. I do fine in clinical trials. I don't need it to pay any more bills, but it would be cool over time to meld together my own consultancy.
Transition.
Where
Yeah.
it's like,
Yeah.
I do clinical trials. I also do disc golf too, if you're into that.
That's like the coolest thing is where you can take the stuff that you're good at, tie it directly to the stuff that you're passionate about. That's like the human recipe for happiness. I heard from this sheet of paper that I'm looking at that you might have brought some stats around Dellwood or Clash. Is that true?
I did take a quick look at last week. You guys talked about the Mando being removed.
Oh,
Let's go.
Yeah. Okay.
You said the Mando was removed this year for Clash.
Yep.
Correct.
Right? So I looked at both rounds for both MA1 and MPO last year and this year.
Okay.
And to sort of like whittle it down as to what was significant or not, there are a couple variables in play there. There's obviously the year, whether it was 2023 or 2024. There's the division, whether it was MPO or MA1. There's the round, whether it was round 1 or round 2.
Mhm.
And then beyond that, you can look at a specific kind of significance test called the t-test to determine if, those scores were significantly different. So I determined that like round 1 or round 2, insignificant. So I can, pool those results together for
Interchangeable.
the sake of getting,
Okay.
which isn't always the case.
Mhm.
There have been freakier things before with weather or whatnot that changed the trajectory of the single hole. So in 2023, MPO, the 60 attempts at hole 6A, they averaged 4.367
Strokes.
strokes with a standard deviation of 0.97 strokes. And then the following year,
I even understand this. I think I understand this, but like, let's get it dumber. For
Sure.
the people who are even dumber than me. What you just said basically means that of all the MPO and MA1 players who played 6A at Clash, the average number of shots it took was 4.3 something.
just MPO, yep, that's what I said. Just MPO Clash 2023, the 60 tries at hole 6A. So 30 people played it twice. The average was 4.367 strokes.
So if you got a 4 on it, you were ahead of
Yep.
ahead
Strokes
of
on folks.
Yep.
Mhm.
Strokes on folks. Love that.
The next year, MPO averaged a little bit higher. There were 72 attempts, and they averaged 4.47. The standard deviation was a little higher too, 1.15. In this case, like we're talking about singular whole numbers, so like the standard deviation of 1
It's
is
not a whole lot,
It's not
yeah.
a whole lot,
Right.
Essentially, it means like while someone got a 4, there was almost an equal chance they'd take a 3 or a 5.
Right.
Just person to person, unadjusted for how good they are at the whole, etc. Just like the score itself.
2023, you had the Mando.
Correct.
2024, you removed the Mando.
Correct.
And the scores were higher.
Slightly
Slightly.
higher.
Mm-hmm.
Like we thought they were.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. Because people got more aggressive
Correct.
when they didn't have to take the. Okay.
Yep.
Cool.
According to Mr. Schenkenfelder.
Now, as a matter of statistical significance, it is not. It's only a tenth of a stroke
Sure.
more. But this is a good opportunity to explain the difference between what's statistically significant and what would be like pragmatically significant. Because the removal of the Mando obviously changes a player's outlook at the whole. I would venture to say several MPO players would play it the same, while some would perhaps try to take a more aggressive route down the right side.
Mm-hmm.
The MA1 scores were actually much different than what I thought they would be, given the context you guys set around removing the Mando and what people were saying. In 2023, MA1 averaged 4.81, and in 2024, they averaged 4.69, which is nice.
Okay.
And
Hey-o.
slightly down. So again, it's still within that like 1/10. So it's not statistically significant, but it still stands to reason that while some people might have taken fat numbers without the Mando, while they wouldn't have with it to play more conservatively, overall it didn't fully alter the whole. So to me, like if the issue is whether or not the Mando would be reintroduced, I'd say no. There's no point. The whole is playing like identical.
Like it would. What would the difference between scores year to year be to be statistically more important?
For it to be like a statistically significant difference,
Yeah.
when you're deciding if something is statistically significant, you have to decide if you want a one tail or a two tail test. And the tails are named because of the normal distribution, the bell curve.
Mhm.
If I know going in that, I guess in this case, you sort of have the hypothesis that the score would be higher. So you'd be checking a one-tailed test to make sure that the score from 2024 was statistically significantly higher than the score in 2023, which sort of lessens the window, but it's still like a 0.35.
I was
given
going
these
to say
standard
like
deviations.
0.5 would be significant.
Yeah, for sure.
For sure. Yeah. Okay.
Anything in that like third of a stroke or over in this context, I think would be flagged as statistically significant.
Got it.
Now, there are probably like other scenarios I could find where like, I know Cameron Paulson's run a bunch of stuff at Crest Creek where certain holes have islands that don't typically. And then like, you can obviously see a huge difference in when an island's in play, or even when like it's a drop zone over just a lateral placement. And like Dan put in a drop zone at Shady Oaks hole 8. I don't know if you're familiar with that. The longer par 4 with like there's a road and then a creek that is usually OB. And to get over that is a good pump. So the drop zone still is like on the path, but Dan for NIO had set it way back to like another 100 or so feet back, really punishing the out of bounds drive, making you lay it up. And that did significantly change scores from that tournament versus like other tournaments, because it changed the distribution of pars, ironically enough, because people were not going for it anymore. They were like, that drop zone is too punishing. I'm just going to lay up, just take my 4. Whereas maybe if the drop zone was the path and it's like kind of an easier 4 from there, they would take the aggressive, try to drive it over that and get in bounds, because, without it, they're not getting they can take their 4 without much like stress. So
and this
did
is
change it.
Real world examples of why these numbers make a difference.
Yeah.
Like if DGPT was looking at numbers like that saying, okay, Simon threw out of bounds on purpose to get that par last year so that he could end up winning because he had already calculated that, okay, what can we do to statistically significantly change this hole so that that wouldn't be at an advantage for him to go out of bounds? Like that, those kind of things are incredibly important. Why are we not using this more?
And not to mention the fact that on a local level, teaching that level of thought on how scores are being created and ratings are being created, just in that it existing would turn all golfers into much smarter golfers and understanding the game of golf to begin with,
Totally.
which is huge. That's a huge light bulb for somebody to have. I liken it to being in the shop and teaching them about what over and understable. Like you'd be advancing your thought processes on this game a whole nother level by understanding it from that perspective.
In the last episode, when we said just go up the gut on 6A, this is the data that tells you exactly why.
This is why we say it.
Not just, oh, well, Sean said go up the gut, but I'm going to try it anyway. No. Here is why you should.
Right.
Thinking about that while playing disc golf will save you a couple every single time.
I have one more question for you before we get to our fat old mailbag. I have no idea what this is about, but can you tell us about indignation?
Oh my God.
What is indignation?
I told you I deep dove in your Facebook.
What is
You sure
indignation?
did, dude. Indignation is my high school metal band.
Oh,
what?
There were some good picks.
You've done
There
so
were
many
some good
things.
picks.
Yeah, I did bass and clean vocals for a metalcore band.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, it was a good time. We were okay. We played a couple shows in Pittsburgh, but
Did you have a
nothing
cool
like big.
nickname or no?
No, I was
Ah,
just the bassist.
bummer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had the car too, so I was like half roadie, half bassist.
Mhm.
It was a
Yeah.
real good time. I wasn't a scapegoat at all.
Were you ever like tempted or inclined to like work statistical terms into the band, like indignation and the standard deviations?
Well, I wasn't too into stats back then. That was like
all right.
coming back to what you were saying. You were expecting like this like light bulb kind of thing, but like while I was in grad school, I figured that out. Like I built leagues for like forum games I played. I was all up in spreadsheets, and I'm like, did I just ignore this like huge portion of my past when I was picking like what to study? And the answer was yes. Like I should have really just leaned into statistics. I really didn't think there was a career path in just that. I think I was pretty ignorant to that, like going into school, and I was kind of good at chem, so I just kept going with chemistry. But no, I never really. I actually started writing songs again when I went to Belmont for a year. It was just me and a drummer called Tyrannical Chauvinism. It was like a nod to like Cephalic Carnage or any other death metal bands I listened to that had like outrageous names. So I just put two words together. It didn't really mean anything.
It makes so much sense to me in the weirdest way that death metal is like your thing. your vibe is so peaceful. Like I'm just imagining you on the way here, just like going nuts.
Yeah, it was a fit for an autopsy kind of ride in here for sure. No, I listen to it all though. I used to be like just all metal, and then I got exposed to a lot of different music like growing up. So
I know I said there was only one more question, but this now that I know what indignation was, it prompted one more question. Have you found that generally women have thrown their panties at you more as a statistician or as a metal band performer?
Well, I kind of had it made.
The limit does not exist.
I kind of had it made in high school as like the kid with the car in the metal band that didn't look like he was out of Hot Topic. So like I was kind of in going to Hot Topic, like getting the, seeing girls to be like, oh, you're different. And I'm like, I'm the most normal one here. I'm not sure
Sure.
what you mean by that.
Yeah.
But no, being a statistician is not the lavish, Rick Ross life you may imagine.
No,
Shocker.
no ghost bitches coming with you.
No ghost bitches for me.
And we've come full circle.
Yeah. All right. That feels like the right place to put a bow on our gin and juice. Jason, do you want to take us into the mailbag? We got some good stuff this week.
Sure. Does that mean that you think that it's
Mail time.
Mail time.
Mail time.
Mail time.
I got nothing left. That was rough.
That's good. That's good.
Sound like a quote
was
from Angels in the Outfield.
Yeah.
I got nothing left.
all right? I got the mailbag here. Let me
Oh, here
comes
we
the
go.
sound effects.
open this bad boy here. Oh, Jesus, I haven't opened this in a while. There's a layer of dust on top of this thing. Let me.
Add some like bats flapping.
Oh, there's a couple squirmers in here. All right, let's see what we got. First, we have a question that is going to come to us via Facebook, and it is from Nick Kaminsky, who is one of our top fans on Facebook.
Love Nick.
He would like to know, what's the biggest thing that you nerd out the most about statistically in disc golf?
I kind of just look at it all. But I think when I first started out really programming and getting used to like just scraping stuff from PGA and looking at it, I would really nerd out at like the slopes, like points per stroke, and then like the rating for even par and how much it like fluctuated. When the UDisc ratings came out, I was all about that because I was just searching for like what I guess cutoffs would be. Like they described their 100, 200, 300 plus system. But I was like, in order to like come up with that and have it be like trimodal, meaning just like 3 different peaks of bell curves on that, they had to have worked out a way to like normalize it all. So I was really trying to get to like 199 or 290 or like exactly like between them, and then see like in the context of par, et cetera, like what that all meant. And a lot of it just ends up like a wild goose chase. Like I'm Charlie with the big board. Like, just what does it all mean? Where is the rating? No one has a rating here.
You want to talk about stress? You want to talk about stress? Okay? I've stumbled onto a major company conspiracy, Mac. How about that for stress?
Yeah, I would get lost in just looking up the standard difficulties of courses, and like it helped me plan out like where I'd want to go play, because there'd be like ones that were highly rated and easy, and it's like, oh, this is in a cool park with amenities, blah blah blah. I can swing through there in 45 minutes. But then stuff was rated just as high that's like wicked hard, and I'm like, they must be getting like a similar experience out of it, but it's wild because they're probably getting their shit kicked in at the same time too. And like when I didn't play as many courses, that didn't surprise me, but it was something I wanted to like explore more.
God, I would love for that to be a factor in the total course rating system.
What,
difficulty?
Yeah, just how how hard it pushed you,
even if it's like a separate 5-star, which people would automatically like 5 stars being most difficult. Oh, that's the best,
right?
Whereas like West Park would be a 2-star, but rated highly. Oh no! So how do you implement that without being detrimental to one course versus the other?
Sure.
Yeah. Well, they did the whole like ski system. I call it the ski. Like they did the green circle, blue square for.
Oh, sure.
It just is a function of like distance per hole. I feel like it is, but that was a start. And I think I guess I was trying to just figure out like how on earth are they all. People just love them, but I mean, this is like easy and open field. This is Idlewild. Like how on earth? Like how are these equated to the same people rating all these? Yeah. So that kind of blew my mind at first, for sure.
Well, speaking of things being implemented. Our next question is from Jay Kaki. He says, Ryan mentioned it on the last episode. Do you have any thoughts on the show's format for the Fantasy Frisbee Analytics and Reconnaissance Tournament? Reconnaissance?
Try again.
Reconnaissance.
No, reconnaissance is when you reopen.
When you bite into a hamburger and it squirts all the ketchup out the other end, and then you have to go get more ketchup. Yes. That's a reconnaissance. And more importantly, what can be done to ensure more PP pans? So what can we add to our thing that we're doing here from a statistical standpoint?
Do you know?
And still make it something that I can understand.
And be gentle.
Yeah.
Because it is a 1 on the scale of difficulty.
Yeah.
And
what's the likelihood right now of PP pants? You have to roll, you have to spin.
What is it? 1 out of 10. Yeah.
Oh, so it's just 1 out of 10. You don't go to the tiny wheel to then do that. It's just the 1 out of 10 on there.
No, the tiny wheel is supposed to be good things.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
It's been a minute.
I don't think Ryan has shared a lot of specifics on how our scoring.
I mean, he's
works.
looked at it.
I've looked through it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Game recognized game. That's a fine
yeah.
spreadsheet.
He did say game recognized game. Although my
For the
game is
record.
like his game is like chess and I'm checkers. Right. But
I'm playing sorry.
I'm like backgammon. It's not much more complex.
I'm
Backgammon,
playing
right.
trouble
Yeah.
with a little pop.
Yeah.
I'm cheating at solitaire.
I'm playing Stratego by myself.
Yeah. Shoots and ladders.
They don't even let Alex have the dice by himself. He has to push the button so you don't lose him. It works for what it is, but it is not complex in any fashion.
I don't know how you could add more.
I mean, we could just
I think
add
we
another
have the
slot
right-
of PP pants.
Yeah.
We have the
for
right
sure.
amount of PP pants, honestly.
Yeah, it's got to be
Yeah.
special.
It's popped up more times than I thought it would, so that's great.
And Jason can never get it.
And nobody can ever
It's
hit
true.
anyone's crotch. Like the water gun that we have somehow is like not calibrated.
Yeah.
So like every time somebody I remember hitting someone's elbow like so far off from the crotch.
Yeah.
What else we got?
One more question is coming to us via Ryan Aquino. He says, with the change from UDisc to PGA stats, What do you think about moving to a new stat platform? Talk challenges, transfer of historical stats to another app.
Well, yeah, you touched on that a little bit
Mhm.
in the transition for PDGA handling all the GGPT stuff. And from like a raw data cache perspective, I don't see an issue with like PDGA taking what UDisc has. I think the
all
issue
there.
is it's just there. I think the issue is UDisc like giving it to them beyond like just the results themselves. You know, if they obviously kept specific stats for like, you know, putting, OB rate, etc. Whether or not that's like readily available to PDGA, I don't know, because they don't have like a historical reference for me to like look at different tournaments. If I think of like, you know, if you go on NHL's website, they have a whole SAP powered database of like stats from this season, and you know, every season SAP has done it. NBA, same thing. I think they also have an SAP client, but I would love to see a universal client, which isn't that hard when you're just adding up numbers between 1 and hopefully no more than 10, and then doing some like made the putt from X distance. Like it's all pretty simple data entry. So I feel like there shouldn't be an issue in unifying that. And I think if there's even another platform like a GeoffStatsLLC that comes from nowhere, like I'm not going to use some novel raw data capture thing that, you know, everyone doesn't have themselves, whether it's CSVs or Excels or notepads. I don't know there's nothing else I really want to see from that perspective. I think PGA Live is doing it fine for live events, with the exception of just not being able to measure what 6 feet is. That aggravates me a little bit. It's just so funny to see, like, it says putting from 25 feet, and I'm looking at her like parked, like right on the bullseye whisker. And I'm like, who is doing this?
Yeah.
And it doesn't get corrected, and there's
It's
no
an afterthought.
reconciliation.
Yeah.
And there's like that data integrity part is more what I guess the challenge would be than just migrating historical data and things like that. But yeah, I'd like to see that more than, you know, DGPT jumping off me like, we have our own app now for live stuff, and it'll be, you know, hackneyed and put together with rubber bands and paper clips, and it won't roll out well, like if that's what it is. So
We have one final question, and this is an audio question that was submitted at the Unstable Discourse Open.
Ooh, that is another reason you should come to the Unstable Discourse Open next year. Get some audio mailbag questions in, but you can also email these to us. We've only asked you guys to do that 1,000 times.
About 100,000
At
times,
least,
yes. This question is coming via Patrick Haker, and he has this to say.
Hi, this is Patrick Haker. I'm here at West Park during the one of the tournaments. I'm not even sure. I have a question for Alex, and my question, Alex, is nugget ice really worth the 69 cents you pay at Thornton's?
1,000,000%. The statistically significant. Yes. I will find reasons to leave the house so that I can squeeze in a Thornton's trip with my half-gallon container, pop in there, fill that B with nugget ice, 69 cents. I stay strapped with nugget ice most of the time. And when I really want to load up, I'll go to Sonic, because Sonic sells full bags of nugget ice for like $4.
The party ice? Oh, baby.
You get a big old container full of that and some water, and then every sip of water you have, not only is it ice cold, but you get a little like chew in there. That is my happiest. I've got an oral fixation, so if I'm not smoking or like, you know, having a lollipop or something, I'm like anxious. So nugget ice is a happy place for me, and I go out of my way to get it all the time. I've also shopped around for nugget ice machines for my house. They're not cheap, but one day I'm gonna have it.
I would call you absolutely ridiculous, but we did just get a new refrigerator, and the refrigerator has an ice maker, and it has regular sized ice, and then it has not nugget ice, but it is close.
Small.
It's very small. So there's like 2 different dispensers of ice. And I thought that is the most ridiculous thing. Why would we need this? You'll have to pry that thing from my cold dead hands. Because that tiny ice, I'll fight you for it.
It's so good.
I don't know what it is about it. I'm on
Haker,
board.
if they doubled the cost and it was $1.20 or whatever, $1.40 for just a cup of ice, of nugget ice, I'd still go.
The statistical probability of you going is 100%.
100%.
Yes.
Yeah.
In fact, there are some gas stations that have better nugget ice than others, and I have calculations I do in my brain of if I go here, I'm going to have this level of experience with my nugget ice. But if I go just a little bit further, I'm going to get the good shit at Thornton's.
It took me a couple of beats to get to what nugget ice was.
What did you
And
think?
in my mind, I thought he was talking about some like McDonald's secret menu shit that I'm like, at first I saw frozen nuggets and I'm like, surely no one is eating frozen McNuggets. Okay, that's out. Is this a topping on a nugget? And then I was like, oh, the small chunks of ice.
It's like
Got it. Okay.
bling for your chicken nuggets.
Nugget platinum.
I was like, fully thought it was a secret menu at McDonald's.
It sounds like something that they would serve at Wendy's. Now they have all these like saucy
Yeah,
nug
right.
things.
Nugget ice.
Get
Yeah.
that nugget ice.
It's like a
Nugget
silver looking like honey sauce, you put it,
Ooh.
nugget ice. Yeah.
Shit.
I want to hear from other
Dip it in bling.
from listeners. If you're into nugget ice, holler at me. I just want to be in good company.
Nice.
Great question, Patrick.
Yeah.
Thank
Oh,
you
yeah.
for the audio mailbag. We love you, and we love everybody who does audio mailbag questions.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think that's going to be where we cap off the mailbag. So I'm going to go ahead and give me just 1 second here. I got to.
And we'll cut all this out and go ahead. Yeah.
There we go. We're
Okay.
good. All right. Now we're all closed.
All right.
All right.
This takes a second to fumble with the zipper, but I'm good.
That means we have one final segment for today's episode, and that is the update from the Fantasy Frisbee Analytics. First off, we've been saying it differently, depending who says it. You are the originator. What is the exact name of the league?
Fantasy Frisbee Analytics and Reconnaissance Tournament.
So there is an "and" in there. Analytics and reconnaissance.
Well, you have to do both.
I've heard you or somebody else say just analytics reconnaissance.
There's the Oxford comma. Sure.
It's a turn of phrase thing.
Yeah.
Mm.
It feels right to me when we say the "and." So
Okay. Good.
It's an
Yeah.
ampersand, so it's not part of the
Or an ampersand. However
ampersand. Did
Uh-huh.
I say ampersand?
Yes,
What
you
is
did.
wrong with me today?
Yeah, I don't know.
I can't talk.
Hey, Jay, query.
All right, now I can finally laugh
Got him.
about it.
All right, guys. So we have had 2 tournaments come up since the last we recorded. We had Worlds, which was going on just before we recorded, or as we recorded,
As
actually.
we were recording, yes.
And then D-Glow, which happened just this past weekend. I keep saying it, but new shit has come to light, man.
Oh,
It is
God.
getting tight. Last time we checked, Team Callahander had taken it by a small margin.
Mhm.
Worlds. We had some incredible scores. For the most part, Worlds was a dead heat between everyone except Team Contentious Toad. Team Jaylene, Team Deucer, Callahander, and Tailwind were all within 30 points of each other.
Wow.
105, 137, 106, and 114. So there was hardly any movement. Team Contentious Toad, myself, had 193 points. Thanks to Mr. Burridge and Corey Ellis tied for 100th place.
Yeah, I hate to see it.
Thanks a lot. Cole Radalin did not play the last 2 tournaments, so I had to go to my alt, and he screwed me. Highlights, Team Tailwind had 105 points because Garrett Gerthy, of course. But 6 of his 7 contenders scored above their rating, so he got minus 60 points.
Let's go.
Ooh.
So that kept him in the running.
How did my boy Eric Oakley do?
He was not counted because we didn't have to use your alts.
That's so weird.
Crazy, right? But otherwise, fairly insignificant. I was falling behind Team Callahander. D-Glow, however, came and went. Team Jaylene had 132 points. Not terrible.
Not terrible.
Team Deucer was the highlight of D-Glow. She not only had 6 of her 7 play above their rating at minus 60 points, but her total for D-Glow was the best that we've seen at 28 points.
Oh my God. Wow.
Let me just go down this list. Simon Lazat in 5th place, Barella in 21st, Gossage in 12th, Ezra in 27th, Vino Makila in 8th, Haley King in 2nd, and her wild card, which we had to use, was Hannah Wynn in 13th, but they all played above their rating. So she ended up with 28 total points. Unbelievable.
Wow.
So the rest of us did around the average, 132, 126 for Team Callahander, Team Tailwind with 161. Team Contentious Toad, however, came in at a mere 44 points. So I would like to, let me pause.
Almost cool.
Bring up the other one. The scores as they stand today.
Mm-hmm.
Team Tailwind with 3155. Team
Wait, are you going from top to bottom or?
from LP to FP.
Yeah.
3155. Team Deucer with 2366.
Jesus.
Team Jaylene has snuck into the third place position with 2301. Team Callahallander and Team Contentious Toad have respective scores of 2027 and 2026.
Shut the up.
I am 1 point ahead of you for the lead right now.
Every
Come
single competition we've ever had on
on.
the show, you two are neck.
We
and
have
neck.
two-
Get your dick out. Let's just see it.
Yeah. I've seen yours and I've seen mine. So we have more than 2,000 total points and we are 1 away from each other. I can't believe it. So this is technically the end of the Disc Golf Pro Tour with D-Glow, but there's still Maple Hill. There's still
Green Mountain.
Green Mountain. Thank you.
Yep.
So we're going to keep this going and see how it goes, because otherwise I would have won, and that's not quite fair because
I didn't win.
it's too much fun.
Yeah.
All right. So because of that, I came in last place at Worlds by a pretty large margin. So we're going to spin that wheel.
Yay!
Here we go.
Tiny wheel. Tiny wheel.
I really
Tiny wheel.
Oh, I
Tiny
can't
wheel. Come on, my lord.
Oh.
Give him a shot.
Wild card
replacement. What does that mean?
I got wild card replacement, which means
We get to collectively choose which of your hot players is going to be replaced by your wild card at the next event.
ouch.
So
What are the options?
My wild cards are Drew Gibson and Holly Finley.
And who are your players right now? It's not for him to tell us how good or bad they're doing.
Yeah,
Right.
right.
For us to do
My
our own
players
research,
are
but-
Eric Oakley, Garrett,
You son of a bitch.
Isaac Robinson, Cole Radalin, Ezra Robinson, Adam Hammis, Robert Burridge, Kristen Tatar, and Holland Handley.
So could we get our guest to weigh in on the statistical probability?
We would have had to
help
get him-
us?
This is how
ahead of
smart I
time,
am,
but-
guys. We need to replace Isaac Robinson. Because statistically, that would be his best player.
Yeah, I was going to
Holly's
say.
But still, putting in Holly
replacing
Finley over
Tatar.
Holland Hanley is still just as good to scale.
Although Holly Finley was like 12th
Yeah, she's
at
she had a little
D-Glow
upswing,
or
yeah.
something, so
Yep.
that wouldn't be... Oh, you guys do what you want. I'd rather take a shot of Malort than deal with this.
I haven't been watching at all, so I'm going to defer to Sean and Sheila on this.
So you're yeah, Drew's not playing, so we really are.
You're forced to
Yeah,
put
we're forced
Holland
to put
Handley
in
in for Kristen or Holland.
putting in Holly Finley for Holland Hanley or Kristen.
Right.
Some time to look back at last year's Green
Yeah.
Mountain Championships.
No,
I don't get time.
I mean, I would just
go with your gut.
I would say Tatar. That was your
I would
first
say
overall
Tatar
pick, right?
would be the one that would statistically have the better showing over Holland Hanley.
Jeff is like feverishly working to find the right answer. I feel like I can see it in his eyes.
He doesn't need any analysis.
I would say for Kristen. I would have to say for Kristen over Holland.
Okay.
Even though that's
Yeah.
a neck and neck thing.
All right. I put it in the notes. That's
All
fine.
right, all right.
I'll,
Sweet.
I'll beat you the hard way. That's fine. Don't worry about it.
I think we should also, while we're on the subject of the wheel and punishments, make an announcement.
For sure. We need to let the world officially know Tolene exists. She's out there. She's on Instagram. You can follow her at toe.lean, Lene. And I got a great pic set as the profile pic. And I've already got one pic posted that's getting some likes out there from legitimate foot pick lovers.
Definitely not bots at all. No,
not
definitely
bots.
not.
No. These are
The
people
listener-
that
Profile pic is your toe
is my toe
that you doctored up.
that I doctored up with eyes and lips and hair to give her the look that I wanted.
But then you posted the other photo of you with the reinforced squatty potty, and it's not Tolene.
No, it's just foot picks.
Just if
If
No,
it's gonna be
that's-
Tolene, it's gonna be Tolene across the board. Like if you're gonna,
if I should bother
always if you are
to
posting
Photoshop
okay, listen, I don't like that you're doing this, but now I have to take control.
right. Okay.
Okay,
He's
if
not
you
gonna
are
let you
gonna
do it
go
wrong.
as far as making a profile for Tolene,
Yeah.
she is the main character.
Okay. Got it. 10-4.
Not
10-4.
reinforced squatty potty with no Tolene. It's
Okay.
got to be Tolene. I'd go as far as taking that other one down and reposting
And
with Tolene, and then tell a story. Tolene has got her own life that she's living, right?
Sure.
I mean, if you're going to do this, do it right.
Mm-hmm.
Rough morning.
My God.
She's out there living her life. Yeah. Okay.
I kicked the corner of the coffee
How did she
table.
reinforce? How did she reinforce the squatty potty? Where did the squatty potty come from?
Yeah.
Where
Maybe
is
you
she
can-
at?
maybe
I
you
have
can
so many
paint her
questions. If you're gonna do it, do it right.
Yep. Got it. Okay. These are the things that I
Okay.
needed to know.
Yeah.
I'll fix
Listener,
her.
for context, if this is your first time listening, a couple episodes ago, Jason had to spin the wheel, and the punishment said foot pick on Facebook. I thought it had to be an OnlyFans type thing.
Well, he decided that
Yeah,
OnlyFans
that was-
would be funnier than just one foot pick on Facebook.
Yes,
But then Instagram is more accessible.
we have found
so
a happy medium
Correct.
that pleases
I
everybody.
wouldn't call it happy.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I'm pretty
We have
happy.
found-
I'm pretty
Very
happy.
depraved medium.
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
nice depraved medium.
Yeah.
So yeah, make sure you go follow Tolene. I have faith that this could become a thing.
Sure.
If Tolene is always in the photo,
Right.
goes without saying.
Okay.
The dream scenario is that Sam Cotton gets a hold of it and does like a Tolene.
Oh my God.
Video
Could you
for you.
imagine? Oh,
It's like
If
Marcel
only.
the Shell.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Except for it's totally in the show. Yep. Got it.
All right, that is a wrap on our Fantasy Frisbee Analytics and Reconnaissance Tournament, which means it's a wrap on this episode. Geoff, thank you for being here.
Didn't understand a word of it, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got a third of it.
I kept a tally. There was 37 things that you said tonight that I had no idea what to
But you were a
That's
ton
not
of fun.
average. That's in my confidence interval for sure.
Yeah.
I fully appreciate how dedicated of a listener you are. You just got the vibe of the show so well. It was really
totally
easy.
from the
Yeah.
beginning.
Oh,
Yes.
Yeah.
Listeners, thank you for sticking around and for all the love you show on social media, the likes, the comments, the follows, all that stuff keeps gas in our tank. So thank you all. And if you haven't left a review for the show yet, please do that. We also love that. Until next time, I will ask you to kindly keep it on the fairway.
See ya.
Y'all be good.
Alrighty then.
Not a real.
Unstable Discourse is produced by Sheila Callahan. Edited by Ryan Fancher. Beats provided by Alex Seminary. And produced in association with Unstable Disc Golf Gear. Look good, feel good, play good.
Unstable Discourse is a Top Secret Studios production. You already know.
Not a real.